It is 6:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. After moving up to number 2 in the polls, Tennessee delivered a disappointing loss last night, falling to Florida 67-54. The Vols shot just shy of 28% from the field, including 20% from the three-point line. Zakai Ziegler scored 15 to lead the Vols, while Colin Castleton scored a game-high 20 points for the Gators. Belmont fell to rival Murray State 83-82. Ben Shepherd led all scorers with 35 points, also had 9 rebounds. And Hall of Fame NFL executive Bobby Beathard has died at the age of 86. His death was from complications from Alzheimer's disease. He passed away at his home in Franklin, Tennessee. As a GM, he helped Washington to 2 Super Bowls. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
With you for one final day from Mobile, Alabama. It is Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Our trip here to the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl, thanks to Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric, as we give you observations from the practice field, the NFL headlines, and a rough night for Tennessee down in Gainesville. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran, involved for life, Ramon Foster, our broadcast veteran, whose J is always capitalized, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, back at our 104.5 The Zone studios, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world!
Making the show happen. Kirby Allen Kirby here with us. I'm Will Bowling. One more show. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we're definitely feeling the rigors of a 16-hour day. No, it's been a lot of fun, but this is just how it is down here because we have this morning show, so we're getting up at the bright morning before the sun is even up, and then we're going to practices, which has been really, really cool. So yeah, it's a day process, but we're here to dish it all out today, and there's some good stuff to talk about for sure.
It is. It's exciting being down here though, seeing these guys in their raw state right now, being young pros and whatnot, and being super excited for what practice can be. They made it competitive with one another. I think the national team, they ended up doing like a 2-minute drill, and the losers of it had to do push-ups. So they're making it fun as much as they possibly can with the realization that, look, this is a job interview, and it's kind of exciting to see these dudes compete.
Well, it's crazy that yesterday Tom Brady retired from football, and we barely even talked about it.
We did.
Yeah,
There's
I mean, honestly, it sounds like or feels like 2 days ago, but at the same time, it's like we kind of talked about it so much when he initially retired that I feel like people are clearly talking about it, but the national media, it's not as blown up as I thought it would be, just because it's like, okay, you're retired now finally, but we kind of gave you all the roses last year.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's where a lot of people are. It's like, Tom, you got us once, and we're really not sure if you really are going to retire this time around. It really is kind of lackluster this time because he went through the entire spiel last time that he was retired, that he said he was retiring. So I looked at it as just like, okay, well, we're on the clock for 5 years then whenever he's going into the Hall of Fame. That was my only thing, and pretty much every player had the same reaction to it also. It's like, okay, Tom. I think it was more people talking about the scripts that NFL players
That's
get
exactly what, yeah.
to write the narrative from the writer. So, yeah, that little joke.
Yeah, that was a joke that started making the rounds on Twitter 2 days ago when Arian Foster on his podcast on Barstool Sports, friend of the show, friend of Ramon Foster, was making jokes about the NFL being a script. And then every day of practice, they would practice the script, and then idiots on Twitter that only have a couple brain cells actually took it seriously.
Yeah, no, That I would. You had, what was the one you were looking? There was a couple. Some of them we can't share on here, but some of them, it was just really interesting to see just players we know even chime in on it and be like, "Oh yeah, this is what I would love to have had." Like, yeah, me breaking my leg is what Rashad Weaver I think said, like his rookie season.
Goodness.
Yeah, that's something I would have planned in a script.
Another one was Alvin Kamara saying that. Whenever he saw the script for this upcoming season, he almost quit football because the Saints were bad this year.
That's right. That's a good one.
So it was some good ones that came out. I can't believe we live in this world, man, where people just believe
it's always something.
NFL is scripted.
Yeah, it's always something.
Oh, that was crazy to me.
Well, there's also nothing really to debate about Tom Brady. Like, you can't make the argument that he isn't the greatest of all time. So, like, people in our business can find something to debate about legitimately everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the fact that there is nothing to debate about that guy means that it's pretty cut and dry when he retires now.
I think so too. I mean, 7 Lombardis.
7.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I saw that number yesterday, and I just had to really bring it all in and be like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
For one man.
Yeah, way more than any other team. Just the overall accomplishments of him, man, to be that low-round guy. I know when he got his script as far as what his career was going to be, he was excited.
He's like, man, I lucked out on this one.
I know. Can you imagine that, though? I mean, you go from a guy trying to make it in the league, and as a late round guy, and everybody feel like they belong. That's the reason some guys chose to, come show their skill sets down here at the Senior Bowl. It's like, look, I belong in this league. Like, this is – everybody feels that way. And to actually do what he did, play as long as he did, here I was playing double-digit years and never got to more than one Super Bowl. He went to, how many was it, 9, 10? And messed around and won 7 trophies. Like most he got way more than some organizations even got one. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the reality of how big of a champion he is. Whether you think he was the greatest athlete, I don't think anybody's ever going to say that. I mean, he didn't win first team All-Pro every single year. But the idea of being a champion, I think if we're looking at comparing, apples to apples as far as careers, if we're looking at somebody like Jordan and we're looking at somebody like Tom Brady, you still say to yourself, Jordan's a way better athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close athletically, right? But overall champion, they go toe-to-toe.
That's because Tom Brady made others around him better.
Yes.
What did they really always have in New England? Not a lot of big weapons.
It wasn't.
He utilized what he had. He made those guys work to the level of, this is what we're going to accomplish. You better do it. I mean, anybody you talk to, they have the utmost respect for Tom Brady as a player. And then he goes to Tampa and he says, this is the team I want to get here. He was able to do it.
Yeah.
He was able to win a Super Bowl with them.
Yep.
It's just, it doesn't happen often. I don't think we'll really see it much ever again, just at that level. Maybe Patrick Mahomes can get the Chiefs there, but
yeah.
615-737-1045, our number this morning. And coming up on this morning's show, our conversation with Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker that was making the rounds on social media yesterday. A couple of the comments he made, not only about his recovery, but meeting with Rand Carthon of the Titans that he gave us some insight on. You got Jimmy G likely not heading back to San Francisco, how that could affect the quarterback carousel as it begins to churn in free agency coming up next month. And Coach Dave McGinnis with us this morning at 7:20. Plus, lots of practice field observations. We closely watched one of the practices yesterday after spending some time with some of the players at the end of session number 1 with the national and American teams practicing in different portions of the day. But some guys starting to make a name for themselves and build off the day 1 practice because you play well on the day 1 practice. It can be considered a little bit of a flash in the pan. Then you build on that on day 2. So a little bit more data to kind of share this morning of guys who have impressed us, and I think some fits for the Titans that would make sense for them on day 2 and 3 coming up in the NFL draft.
And that's what I think coaches always want to see. And then, of course, all these scouts and coaches, head coaches, general managers is like, if there's something in particular that they didn't see day 1 in practice and they were kind of told, look, and there's a lot of individual coaching going on too. After practice, these coaches are saying, okay, this is what you need to work on tomorrow. And then these guys are able then to go out and do that. And if they improve, it catches your eyes. We're seeing so many of these players see their draft stock already rise here after a couple days of practice, and they got a full day today as well. So again, it is really you can't compare this to a lot of things, just the amount of eyes you have on you and how that really can benefit you in the next couple of months.
Yeah, and of course, yesterday we had the opportunity to get on the field too, and I ended up talking to some guys who were some scouts, and I asked them, I was just more or less like, what are you doing? Like, what are you actually looking at in these practices? Because the reality of it is so many different moving bodies, and these scouts down here have so many players that they have to look at. This one guy in particular was looking at the corners.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you looking for? I was like, are you breaking them down play by play? Like, how do you do that? Because you can only look at one side of the field at a time. He was like, no, what I'm doing mostly is confirming what I saw on film. He was like, if I see them with tight hips, I'm looking to see, is it really real in real life? If I see that they're good, good at tracking the ball, like how good are they right now in front of me at practice? I was like, so you're just looking at their traits more than anything. It's like, this is where confirmation happens. So, or I see something that I never really noticed, good or bad. So that was really good insight on how they go about breaking this down at games like this.
By the way, I am so excited because I finally got to meet Mike Tomlin. I've literally wanted to meet this man for so long, and here's Big Moan down here, Big Shot, and he just turns around, hey, Moan, and here's Tomlin. So I was like, here's my opportunity. So I just went straight up to Coach Tomlin. I said, hey, I'm Kayla Anderson. I'm Ramon's co-host. He was like, you got to handle this guy. I go, no. I'm probably way worse. He just laughed a little.
It was funny also, Shafe, that Ramon just walked on the field. And everybody, all the security.
Did you just walk on?
I had the Steelers GM confirm, and then I got y'all illegally on the field, which was what we do.
So again, what happened was that Ramon walked on the field because none of the event staff were like stopping to say, "Oh, is this guy media?" Like they just assumed he was either a scout or like a legendary former player who would just deserve to be down there.
I mean,
and then we walked down there. The guy's like, "Oh, media doesn't get to go down to the last couple minutes." And then Ramon's like, "Oh, they're with me. It's cool." And the guy just let us. So
let's be honest with Ramon, okay? If you see him walking to anything, are you going to get in his way?
No, I was only down there for 5 minutes because Ramon was one of the few people on the field that can see over all the players to actually see what's happening. I also learned, by the way, that I prefer to be at a much different vantage point to watch football than the rest of the people here. Other than maybe Buck.
Everyone's different
That's
how
true.
they like to watch
I didn't realize
football.
that. You was like, I'd rather watch it from the stands. I was
I would rather
we're right here on the field.
I would rather be on the top row of the bleachers than on the field.
Yeah, I mean, shooting for all those years at football, I just got the love and excitement of being down there, and then I got spoiled, and I never wanted to be anywhere else. So now when you're in the stands, I'm like, what are you doing putting me in the stands? What's that about?
Imagine how I felt.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, because that's what you do.
So basically, Ramon was BMOC, is what you're saying, right? He was BMOC.
I knew people down there. That's all it was.
Yeah.
I met
He knew everyone.
the Florida State staff. I ended up talking to their head coach yesterday for a little while because Bruce Warwick was at Tennessee while I was there. And he introduced me to Norvell and their entire staff. It was pretty cool, man.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Well, coming up next, we revisit our conversation with Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker. Coach Mack coming up at 7:20. Tons of observations from the second day of practice here at the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl. Live from Mobile. It's our final show of the week down here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson for Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Listen to us. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They are the heating and cooling company that can take care of all your HVAC needs. And Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is also a York certified comfort expert company. And guess what they do with those York products too? They back them up with 10-year parts and labor warranties too, Kayla.
And you know what? The one thing that you can't really rely on here in Middle Tennessee, the weather. It's always up and down. But one thing you can rely on is our friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. It is a family-owned and operated company that's been around and been in business for over 10 years. They deliver all the services that those bigger corporate guys offer, but the big thing with them, they deliver it with the friendliness of family. The Spring Hill Heating and Cooling family responds promptly to issues and gets your problems resolved quickly and accurately.
For all of your HVAC needs, seriously, go to springhillac.com and be sure to tell them that Kayla and Ramon sent you.
Check them out.
Revisiting our conversation with QB1 of the Tennessee Volunteers coming up right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Our trip to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl, made possible by Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric. You can hear us one more time down here, and then the Buck Rising Show right after, as we go back to cold and frigid Middle Tennessee.
And it's actually not that warm here. It was warm that first day, but now it's turning a little chilly.
53 degrees this morning on the Gulf Coast.
As I'm complaining,
53?
right?
Yeah, there's still ice on all y'all's vehicles out in the parking lot.
Is it really?
You may not be seeing me in the morning.
It should be gone if we get up to around 40 this afternoon, but yeah, all your vehicles are still icy.
How are the roads before we hit the road, Shay?
Fine.
We're good to
We
go?
didn't have any problem. You might have maybe some issue in Williamson County coming up, but I think you'll be okay.
By the way, one quick thing on Hendon Hooker before we get to that interview with him. He was at practice yesterday, obviously out there not practicing, but he was so involved. He had the play script. He was kind of hyping up guys. I mean, talk about a dude that just loves ball.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's making himself valuable by just being around and being a good teammate and just understanding what the NFL is sometimes.
And these quarterbacks are not great who are here.
They're not good.
It is hard to really judge the wide receivers, and we'll get into this as the show continues.
Yeah.
Hard to really judge a lot of these wide receivers without Hendon there to put them in a position to make a catch.
I know. I wish Hendon could have been out there for that fact because I think he would have been by far the best QB.
Yeah, and there's been other people to say that too. It's like the best guy here at quarterback, as far as overall quarterback, has a knee brace on.
Well, we talked to Hendon Hooker about his recovery from his ACL surgery with that knee brace, what it was like playing for Josh Heupel for one more season, and his love for Joe Milton. Everything with QB1 of the Tennessee Volunteers. Here's our conversation with Hendon Hooker. First of all, for the show with a VFL and a guy who played in the NFL and played for Tennessee, we want to thank you for your service to us Tennessee fans for giving us a pretty fun year this past year.
Yeah, we had a blast doing it. Every day was special to us. So just the same approach every day, trying to come in with a positive mindset to go out and dominate on Saturdays.
Man, you'll see with the job in NFL, you don't have time for certain stuff like going to college games. I'm just now getting into this world. Mm-hmm. Y'all made it fun, man. I don't think I've ever in my life had a blast the way I did. Even last year, just all around, I was like, okay, I see why people enjoy college football. Like, that's all. Dude, I told you a second ago, I was like, just during my playing days, I needed you then, okay? Because I played with guys from Florida, from Georgia, from LSU, and that customary $100 bet, man, got old when you got four of them dudes on the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate you, man. I talked a whole lot of trash just
Yes,
so
sir.
you know.
Yeah, just for y'all, just for the VFL.
No doubt. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What was it like this year taking down Alabama right there at Neyland Stadium and just watching the fans flood the field? Like, what was that moment like? Will it forever be one of the top moments probably for you in your
Definitely.
college
That was
career?
the first time I was actually on the positive side of rushing the field. So that was a treat. I tried not to get trampled. So I ran out to the middle of the field for 5 seconds. I realized how fast the stadium was getting flooded, and I just ran to the locker room and celebrated with my teammates and my family in there. So it was a surreal moment. We approached that week as pros and as vets in this field of business, and we came out on top.
Well, Hendon, I remember talking to you at SEC Media Days in Atlanta, and a lot of the talk then was, who is that team right behind Georgia and Alabama, right? Who's that other special team in the SEC? When did you know that this team was capable of what it did this past season, that you could win 10 games and beat Alabama?
After our first player-led skills and drills, I remember getting on the phone with my mother and father and just telling them how special we were going to be this past year. Just the work and the encouragement that we got from Coach Heupel and the rest of the coaches. I remember Coach Hype telling everyone, we got some extra gear for y'all to come in and get extra work. So all throughout the summer, I saw a lot of young guys in there catching jugs or, going up and watching film with the GAs or their position coaches. So everyone was just hungry to get better. And after that first skills and drills, I saw how hard we competed and how special we were, not just on offense but on defense as well. We still toasted them every day, but
small flex right
yeah,
now.
but,
I'm here for that.
But I saw how special we were and how competitive we were, and I was eager to get out there on game day.
How big was that relationship with you and Coach Heupel? Because it just seemed like it worked.
Yeah, that's my right hand man. Love him to death. Every day we would come in when he first got there. He would always look at me and say, "Come on, man, smile. Like, smile, have fun." I'd be so serious. And he'd be like, "Smile, have fun, relax, play your game. I want you to go out there and have fun." And that's what he encourages all of us to do. So just having that confidence from him boosted my confidence, and then just encouraged me to put confidence into my teammates as well.
One sector, of course, I'm the resident O-line guy, okay?
O-line rules.
See, I didn't pay for that, okay? Now I can actually pay the kid.
That wasn't an NIL deal.
That wasn't even an NIL deal.
He got a lot of gifts in the NFL from the quarterback.
I mean, hey, Christmas is good, okay? But with that being said, you said, you guys got better. That group got better, man. You have one of your fellow O-linemen down here right now, Darnell. We'll see if we can get him in a little bit too. But what about that growth from him, Jerome, Young May?
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want to, and I've only saw you had to get onto him, I think, like once in a game, okay?
Once.
Those moments, they responded. What was it like for you to actually have that protection in that group?
That was extremely special. Our bond was extremely special. I remember going out to eat with them multiple times throughout the season. They ran my pockets dry a couple times. But it's worth it. It's worth it, though, because those are my guys. Go to war for them. 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
And they do the same for me. I remember the only one time that you're talking about, Darnell got mad at me because he thought I gave up a sack and messed up his PFF game for the week against Kentucky. Because I was trying to make a play. He was like, "I'm mad at you, bro." I'm like, "Man, I'm sorry, man." So
he's got a streak going. He hasn't allowed a sack in 19 games.
Yeah. So they didn't give him that sack. They just So
hey,
they just,
small victories,
small
man.
victories.
I'm telling you, we don't have a stat line.
Right. So I gotta show my guys love. We're supposed to have some T-shirts coming out here. The security, so front door security, back door security. So those are my guys, and I love them. I love them to death.
I see real quick too. You're bending your knee.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting like us right now. One, how upset were you? The next day, I think they start stretching on that knee from surgery. But like, how's the process of healing been for you?
Yeah, the process of healing has been great. I remember my first day out of surgery, I was bending at 60%.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it didn't used to be like that, man. You have to like wait a week. Now they've been early.
Yeah, so I started my rehab the day after my surgery.
Yeah.
And then being able to finally, I got to start bending it like this right here after 2 weeks. And, being able to really walk around and be off my brace and off those crutches. My forearms aren't burning everywhere I go. So being able to just do the things that I do on a daily basis and work out total body, not just my upper body, not just my right leg, and not doing, tabletop workouts is what I call them,
Right.
In the training room. So actually being able to move and move around like I want to in the weight room, it's been fun. It's been fun.
Hendon Hooker with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Do you have any goals set for yourself for a pro day, for your recovery this offseason? What do you want to be able to do to kind of show teams that you're ready to go this year?
Yeah, I just want to take it one day at a time. Continue to work my butt off on a daily basis, have a positive attitude about things, and continue to build my mental as well. So showing off my attributes away from the physical side is what I want to do, and those are the goals that I've set for myself.
And that's kind of different here this week because you're not able to be out there on the field when coaches and scouts are watching these guys practice, but you are in a lot of meetings. You are meeting with a lot of teams. What's that been like, and are you comfortable now with just kind of just being yourself and letting them see the real Hendon Hooker? That's kind of what they want here, right?
Yeah, it is, and I don't know how to be anyone else.
That's good,
so,
right?
Just me being myself and talking ball, it's been a
Yeah.
blast. It's been a blast. I work out with Clayton Toon and Max Duggan out in San Clemente, California.
We
with Jordan
talked to
Paul.
Max earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm with those knuckleheads on a daily basis, and we have a good time out there with Will Levis as well and Dorian Thompson-Robinson that's at UCLA. But being able to go in the meetings and talk ball and being able to communicate with those guys on the field, I'm standing in their ear hole trying to get the play
I
call
bet you are.
from Coach London. He's talking to the mic, and I'm standing in their ear hole.
Yeah.
Okay, make sure my read's here, just
Yeah.
protection. So, still doing taking the same mental reps off the field as if I was going into play.
What was you'll find out for sure at the next level. Every quarterback wants that number one, and that's receiver. I feel like you had a plethora of just guys in general, like
A
Brew. I
stable.
mean, tell me, just name them. But Jalen, because he was deemed the best receiver in the
The
world.
best receiver in the world.
Okay, what was it like with him, knowing that you know what, put it in the air?
It was. I don't know. I don't want to say inevitable, but it was going to happen regardless. He was committed to Virginia Tech at one point. I remember him coming on his official visit, and he was sitting in my living room, and we're sitting there just talking about basketball. And we found out we played at the same AAU organization. He's just years younger than me. And we knew the same people. My people are his people.
Wow.
So that
That's
connection has just been there for a long time off the field. My first weekend at Tennessee, Jay Hyde asked me to go throw. It was me, him, Walker Merrill, and Jalen Wright. And I was throwing to those guys, and Hyde was like, I got to see if you can overthrow me, man. If you can overthrow me, then you can play quarterback here. So I was bombing him over his head on purpose every time. I wasn't even trying to hit him in stride or anything.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, because we had a little bet, not really a bet in agreement. What will his 40 time be, you think? 4.3, hitting 4.2?
He said that he got something special for me. So if he said he got something special, then I'm expecting 4.2.
That's what I said.
Oh,
But
boy.
I know he's gonna run a great time, and he's gonna have fun. He's gonna show off his ability. He got that long hair, so his hair is gonna be in the wind.
Gotta get more aerodynamic.
Yeah, so I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for all my teammates to go and show out at the combine, put on for the VFLs.
You were
Go
ahead.
like that was the thing too. I know you're probably more of a passer than thrower. I mean, passer than runner.
Yes, sir.
But you have speed.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's always been the case. It's like let you sit and let it develop.
I haven't always had speed. I actually in high school was a pro style quarterback, and when I got to college, I don't know, some speed came from somewhere.
The heavens above, right?
Yeah, right. I got blessed with some speed.
Yeah.
And then in 2020, I actually during the COVID era, I got to actually work with my speed coach. So that was probably the fastest I had been in college, and I at one point was leading the nation in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then Malik Willis went on to lead with 11. I finished with 9. But I was trying to break Bruce Arians' touchdown record in a single season, which was 9. So
How about B.A. coached me, man?
Oh,
He
yeah.
was my offensive coordinator
Yes,
in
sir.
Pittsburgh. I didn't realize B.A. actually played football.
Yeah.
I had no idea because he's just mean as hell,
Yeah.
man. I'm
Yeah.
like, B.A., why are you like this? I didn't realize he was a football player.
Well,
That's my mistake.
Hendon's like, oh, man, I'm so much older than Hyatt, And it's funny because, like, in football years, we're talking 24, 25. There's a lot of guys here that have, because of the COVID situation, because of just how the NFL has changed a little with NIL, or college, I should say. 25, they want to say that's older, but there's so many benefits to that, right? I mean, you're coming in more mature. I think teams are starting to see that a little bit. Does that come up at all in conversation with just the leadership aspect of things?
No one has really pointed out my age or anything, but they definitely ask me, what are some of the ways that I lead? What type of leader am I? And it's a unique way. I want to connect with everyone on the team, be able to communicate in our own special way, have an off the field relationship first, and then transition to that football side. I remember getting to Tennessee, and everyone was like, "Well, the only football we watch is on CBS at 3:30."
Yeah, right.
So,
Right.
I mean, you have nice highlights, bro, but you're playing the ACC. I'm like, okay. So I led from winter workouts and just kind of made connections. Didn't really say too much. But brought great energy. And when we were having sprints and stuff, I was very competitive, trying to push guys. And then when we got to spring ball, I made a couple linebackers. I broke their ankles, and then they came back to the locker room and was like, okay, you can play ball. You can play ball.
Well, Hendon, of course, the new leader now is your guy Joe Milton.
Yes, sir.
How fun was it to watch him have the day that he did near his hometown in Miami down there for the Orange Bowl? How excited are you for him to step up and be the franchise quarterback of Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm excited to watch my man Joe throw that thing around. I told him I'm coming to the spring game in a Joe Milton jersey, and he better autograph it or we're going to have some problems. But I'm excited for him. I'm excited for his supporting cast. He got some wideouts coming in, and we got some weapons coming in also from the transfer portal. Also some freshmen. So little Nico is going to learn a lot from Joe, and I'm excited to see him, take the reins when Joe's gone after next year.
And Joey Halsley has talked about Nico and has said, look, this kid's highly touted. He's a 5-star, just a normal kid at the same time. How impressed have you been with his ability to kind of get things up to speed pretty quickly, and how jealous are you of him being able to go right to practice as an early enrollee?
Yeah. That's I wish I could have done that. I kind of decided to leave high school early, late in the process. So like a week out of Virginia Tech and rolling into classes, that's when I decided that I was going to go early. But Nico's special kid. I'm excited for his journey and his growth. Coming in and replacing that second quarterback spot is a big step, for a freshman. It's also a blessing. So to be able to get those reps in practice and be able to come in, I'm expecting Joe to throw some bombs early and get Nico in there in a couple games. So I'm excited to see his development.
My final question for you, and we got a guy right here, another Vol. I mean, how important is it for you guys now to continue to build this legend of Tennessee and bring it back to the top by putting guys in the NFL? I mean, I know that's Heupel's thing. You guys want to represent, right? Yeah,
that's right. Just being a VFL and trying to represent everyone who came before us and everyone who's going to come after us, making sure that we set that standard, that we're hard hat guys. We come in and we want to work and compete and make our mark on any team that we're on.
Real quick before we let you go, I know you told us off air you have met with the Titans, met with the new GM Rand Carthon. Who else have you been talking to here? What have those conversations been like? And I guess what was your impression of the new Titans GM too?
Yeah, it's been a gauntlet of teams for sure. You meet with everyone, and I just have a blast talking ball. And then meeting with the Titans was really cool. Kind of a surreal moment for sure, because that was the first team that I talked to in the interview process. So being able to just sit down with the head man and talk ball, it's been a blast.
There he is, Hendon Hooker with us on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and adding the nugget right there at the end that the Titans were the first team that he was able to meet with in the Senior Bowl process. 615-737-1045, our number. We'll react to that. We'll take more of your phone calls. We'll keep our number one rolling when we come back on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 1045 The Zone.
But above all else, I see a shadow on my stage. And so, no matter how you measure, it's 6 more weeks of winter weather.
Well, like Michael Scott, I celebrate Groundhog Day privately. But if you don't, then there you go. Happy Groundhog Day.
I forgot it was.
Again, 6 more weeks of winter, apparently.
You know what? At this point, we get it out of the way. We don't have time change this year, so we'll at least get a little bit more sunlight.
Well, we do have a time change.
We do? No. As far as the fall.
Right.
I thought you said we don't have it this year.
We don't.
We don't.
But spring, we do.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay,
it
I'm
starts
cool with that.
next.
Yeah. No, I'm good with
we
that
spring
one. Okay.
ahead, but we won't fall back.
stay
I've
there.
Of course we
transitioned
spring
into
ahead.
a summer lover is all I'm telling you guys. So respect my my time and how I go about this process, okay? I was once a winter lover.
Respect my privacy.
yeah.
I've
Respect my
chosen
privacy.
University of Tennessee. Respect my privacy at this time.
Chosen University of Summer from here on out. I enjoy bright sunny
the correct
days, clear
decision.
nights, and I will blast my AC. That's where I'm at now. I've transitioned, guys.
I feel like February, because it's a short month, everything gets just lost. And there's a lot going on now in February, too.
It is.
But I'm like, I still feel like it's January. Again, because before you know it, it's March, and I'm like, well, what was February? Can we get rid of this month?
No, because it's Black
mean-
History Month. Come
Oh,
on,
that's
Kayla.
right.
Yeah,
Kayla.
absolutely.
I thought you were going to say it's Valentine's, the month of Valentine's. And I was like, I can do without that. But
You go without Valentine's Day?
I've never done anything big for Valentine's Day.
What, man? I got to talk to my guy, Trav,
Nah,
man.
he's not that. Yeah, he doesn't.
Man.
No,
What-
but Kayla, women know that Valentine's Day is a trash holiday, right?
Well, so is New Year's.
So it's New Year's.
Yeah, I agree with
agree
that.
with that, too.
Yeah.
Those are the two holidays I don't care much
I
for.
enjoy New Year's, though.
Well, because you've been able to live it up and spend money on New Year's your whole life.
Wow.
He just pops bottles of Cristal on New
you
Year's.
know what?
You
I'm
and
going to
Buck are
stop.
getting bottle service.
I never had. Well, I worked for bottle service, man. I don't know how much Buck did for bottle service other than, never mind. I won't go there.
No, it was always
somebody's parents bought that bottle service in college. Let's not forget
That's-
that part of the
Somebody was
story.
working
Very true. Yeah. New Year's is like one of those holidays where you try to always plan it. At least
Yeah.
I did, starting at an early age, and it just never worked out. So I gave up early. After high school, and we never worked out our parties like they always fell through, I was like, I'm done.
Straight up.
Done.
New Year's I've always been busy, so now I'm like a new tailgater too. Like I really want to enjoy what New Year's is too. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is the second half of me enjoying retirement.
This is a
That's
new
all-
life for you.
That's all it is.
I don't know why we the groundhog thing is weird to me.
I think so, too.
It's still, I don't know.
How much money's made off of it? That's the question as
Off
to
the
how
groundhog?
relevant it is.
I don't think he's
Actually,
making
for that
any
little town, it makes a decent amount of money for
Does?
tourism. Yeah.
for okay.
Yeah,
Plus-
because it's just a random town in the middle of nowhere. I grew up
It
45
is.
minutes away from there.
So it's like college athletics before NIL. Everyone is profiting except the subject of the holiday. Of the day.
Seriously,
I'll
poor
Just the
little
groundhog.
guy.
That groundhog has a pretty good life. I think he lives in
Well, he
this
deserves an NIL deal.
in
Shay.
this
What are you talking
habitat
about?
in the
Yeah.
town library. I think he has a harem. No, that groundhog's doing good.
harem?
Yeah, no, look it up. I think the groundhog has a harem. Yep.
What in the world?
Yes, right.
Stop it, Shay.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
today's
I'm not-
episode
no,
of
I'm not
useless
even making
knowledge
it
you
up.
never needed.
No, I'm not even making it up.
He's lying, right?
Look, haven't gone to Groundhog Day. Let me tell you, the only thing brown at Groundhog Day celebration is the groundhog, okay?
It's the ground.
Okay.
That celebration is really white.
And you guys get the shortest month too for Black History Month.
Well, I'm not okay with this, man. You know what I'm saying?
the gloomiest
And
month.
then, as Kayla said, they fill it with events. Okay, what is it? President's Day's in this
President's
month.
Day
Yeah.
is in
You got
February.
freaking Valentine's Day in this
Yep.
month. Okay, you got the NBA
Super Bowl.
All-Star Game.
What?
Super
Why does
Bowl,
that-
Pro Bowls in this month. I mean, seriously, give us a bone here, man.
Well, then
Equality.
why don't you get out there and say, let's move the month?
You know what?
Why don't you be proactive?
Move it to the summer.
It's-
Now
it's
that you're
been stuck
a
here,
5-star
man.
summer recruit.
I am a 5-star summer recruit, but we're gonna sell. Well, you know
You're a
what? We
full
may do
participant.
every Friday. You know, Black History Month fact. Okay?
There we go. I like that.
Yeah, there we go.
Real quick, so do they change the groundhog after, like they do with Uga and,
Oh, Olga's just
Do
fat.
it.
Can't hang.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
yeah,
like,
it'll
that's
eventually
more
die and
like
they'll have to have a different one, yes.
Do they make soup out of them?
Are you for real with
Okay.
that? man?
Okay.
just
Jay,
because we had turtle soup on the menu last night does not mean they make groundhog soup.
That's what
are you
happened
talking
last
about?
night. Is Ramon again as he does every time you go out to eat with Ramon, not only had one question about the menu of what is your favorite thing, then asks his 10 follow-up questions. And among those was, so y'all really have turtle soup?
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's on the menu, so like I would. And then it's like, but like, how do you make turtle soup?
Yeah.
And they're like, is that real?
Buck
Like,
brought it down. He broke it down. Buck's actually
did.
had turtle soup.
Yeah.
Which was insane. And ain't no I would have ever thought Buck Rising would be eating turtle soup. But how many menus in restaurants have you gone to that's had turtle soup on the menu?
What's funny is that anytime you go out with Ramon to a restaurant, he's trying to be all charming and suave. And
Sure.
Now it
Trying to
doesn't
get us
matter.
free stuff.
Now let's be fair. It doesn't matter if it's a waitress or a waiter. He will
Yeah.
he will do that thing and ask all those questions.
I do.
And you may get some free stuff, but it's mostly just the Ramon Foster Appreciation Tour. That's what it is.
You
really
feel
is.
me, man? I tip well, and I'm going to make you feel like a human while you service us. That's all I'm saying. Some people
There
are
you go.
rude. You
Oh,
feel
no,
me?
that's not it's not a bad thing.
But you just starving again last
I was
night?
just hungry. I don't know.
How
We
hungry?
We only get one meal really while we're down here because
That's
we're
true.
on the show and then we're at practice. So
Practice.
except today we're getting our peach ice cream.
Yeah,
which I'm
Ramon
so
is
excited about.
Ramon is the person who's like, how rye is the rye? And you just want to smack him.
That's exactly what
That
he
is-
is. That's
That
exactly
is
what
a
he is.
perfect way. to
So
describe
how did
it.
they get the squid juice out of the squid? What's the
I did ask
process?
that.
Make me real mad? I don't know.
It's a good time,
Bro,
though.
go
I
back to
promise.
school if you want to know all this. Take a
615
science class.
737 1045.
Appreciation, baby.
Coming up in hour two, what Kyle Shanahan had to say about the 49ers quarterback situation that may surprise many of us, and Coach Dave McGinnis, who will join us at 7:20, give his favorite interviews and his favorite prospects that he's seen on the practice field here in Mobile.
Don't
at the
call me
Senior
out on
Bowl.
what I already do, Will.
That's coming up next in hour two. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
7:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. After moving up to number 2 in the polls, Tennessee delivered a disappointing loss last night, falling to Florida 67-54. The Vols shot just shy of 28% from the field, including 20% from the three-point line. Sakai Ziegler scored 15 to lead the Vols, while Colin Castleton scored a game-high 20 for the Gators. Belmont fell to rival Murray State 83-82. Ben Shepherd led all scores with 35 points and had 9 rebounds. And Hall of Fame NFL executive Bobby Beathard has died at the age of 86. His death from complications from Alzheimer's disease passed away in his home in Franklin, Tennessee, as a GM helped Washington to 2 Super Bowls. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into hour number 2 in the Thursday edition, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, live from Mobile, Alabama for one final day this week. Thanks to Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Kirby Allen Kirby, making the show happen here in Mobile, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, back home in Nashville. Woo! I'm Will Bowling, as we take a look at one quarterback who looks like will be available this offseason. This was Kyle Shanahan yesterday talking to the San Francisco media when asked about Jimmy Garoppolo's potential return to the 49ers next year.
I wish you guys could see Jimmy being back, and if so, what would that look like?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Oh. Hot dog.
No, we had longer audio than that. He said, what?
I'm telling you, it's a short answer. Yeah.
He not back.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Any scenario?
Yeah, Kyle, can you tell us if Buck was ever on time to any of our dinners this week?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. Really appreciate it.
Is he ever on time to his radio show?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Is that what we're doing?
Will Lucas Panzica escape their show with no headaches today?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
All right, thank you so much, Kyle.
Is there ever a scenario in which Robert Walsh wears pants inside his house?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Well,
okay, this is my new favorite drop, hands
down.
down.
And this is how Kyle Shanahan becomes a part of our show.
That's incredible.
Is there any car that Ron Slade rides that has a roof?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Is Brent Daugherty really
got
the mayor of Brentwood?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Is Don Davenport
Ramon, stop.
really known as Don, or is it Babs?
See, it didn't work for that one.
Oh, you're done. You're cut off. Cut his mic
Who
now.
else
Cut
do we
it.
have on the list?
This is why your transcripts were iffy.
Give me another one.
No,
Is Jonathan
Ramon, stop it.
Schaefer
Stop it.
really
Stop
the
it.
best producer in the world?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Is Will Bowling ever going to calm down?
Oh, I'm perfectly calm.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
I want this bit to last more than one day.
Will Kayla ever grow up?
Oh, my gosh.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
There it is. You had to think about that one, Kayla.
So San Francisco has another offseason with uncertainty at the quarterback position, and now that Tom Brady is off the market,
Oh, my stomach.
it
Sorry.
looks like it's going to be Brock Purdy and Trey Lance in San Francisco.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
He's a 25-year-old, but he is more mature than us.
I've never heard Caleb.
Well, I didn't work out my abs this week, so I got it all in just now.
Will Titans fan forgive John Robinson?
No, I don't see any scenario of
There
that.
it is, right there.
Kyle
We're
Shanahan.
good.
I love how this bit's become like a magic 8-ball.
Dude, that thing, you know about the
All
eight,
signs point to yes.
the 8-ball though, that got creepy. I had to throw mine away.
Yeah, right.
What?
We've
Yeah.
never heard this story.
I got creepy. I'd be asking it things. I'm like, I don't want to see this answer,
When
so I
was
got
this?
creeped
No,
out.
I don't see any scenario of that.
You believe this as a kid?
Yes, in like a grade school.
Yeah, I remember when they got popular with us. Like I thought they were real too. I'm gonna be honest with you.
No, I'm like, this is creepy.
What kind of questions did they?
I don't even know, man.
Does Drew like me?
Yes.
Shake it.
I don't see a scenario of that.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
That's
The
terrific.
magic 8-ball.
And we're off the rails at
Who
7:07.
created that? By the way, I got to look that up. That's
Oh,
the
no.
silly stuff. I
Some
looked
psychic
up
or
right
something.
there. Was it 1974, Kirby?
I was going to say, Kirby Allen Kirby is here, and whenever a question is asked by Ramon and Kirby are a good match for one another because Ramon has a lot of questions and Kirby has a lot of answers.
I do.
Right,
Kirby
but that
knows
doesn't mean the
knowledge.
answers are correct.
Kirby has knowledge that what the rest of us don't have. So, oh wait, Kirby, if you're going to talk to us, just turn on your microphone. Like you have the floor to join us.
Simply
Here this
because
morning.
you have the opportunity to be younger, and I happen to be, a little
Oh, it's
older.
not a complaint.
Oh,
I'm just saying, yeah, you've got a lot of answers.
I
Kirby's
remember
hip and young.
Christmas of '75. My sister and I got one of those, and we watched my dad and stepmother play with them for about an hour. They were like, "Oh,
Yeah,
these are
like
great."
asking
It would happen
questions.
every year at Christmas. There was one toy that would fascinate my dad. You would
Yeah.
almost like,
Yeah.
"Hey, can I borrow that?" It's like,
Well, he was the person that bought it for you, so he's getting it for himself anyway.
There
well,
you
there
go.
it is.
was
Had
he?
to play.
The
Or
true
did
reason.
Santa bring it from the North Pole? I don't know.
Wait,
she was a younger sister.
I got to be careful talking about Santa on this radio
Oh,
station
oops,
show.
I
because
learned that the
I've
hard
gotten in
way.
trouble for that before.
I did
Oh,
too.
I ruined everything for her. From
I learned
Santa
that the
to
hard
What
way.
was there to ruin? I mean, he was there and gave you your
Kirby,
magic
I'm
eight ball.
glad Santa was so nice to you that year.
Me too.
No, I'll get off here and let you go. But I did also busted my dad riding my bike, my brand new Schwinn on my birthday. I'm like, who's that? And this guy goes by our house on a bicycle. I'm like, that's my dad.
Your dad riding your bike?
Yeah, he was bringing it home from the Schwinn shop.
Oh, that's
And
crazy.
he took an extra 3 blocks just to torment me.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Welcome, Kyle Shanahan,
I
to the
cannot
show.
believe
615-737-1045. In all seriousness, though, are you guys surprised that he's given away that info this early?
Just a teeny bit. I guess that because he was that decisive. Because usually answers we get to those questions,
Yeah.
it's like, well, we're going to go to the drawing board and we're going to see what we were going to figure out. But that was like point blank. You just heard it.
Yeah.
There's no scenario of that happening. And so clearly, goodbye Garoppolo. And like you said, I'm interested to see now, really, between Trey Lance, who they drafted in the first round, and they had hopes that he was going to be the guy, but then you have Mr. Teaspoon Boy come along, a.k.a. that's what we call Mr. Irrelevant
Purdy.
over in London. And now he's going to compete for the spot, it looks like.
He is. And what's happening, too, I feel like there's 2 scenarios that's happening in San Francisco. One is they're letting Jimmy G know, like, hey, yeah, you're out of here. We're good to go. Like, and I think that's very respectful for him and his career and for his free agency, too. I think that's a good
That's a
look
good
for them
point.
to say, you know what? No, he's going to be a free agent. Do what y'all want to. Look,
Yep.
we're good. The other part of this, too, is we're in the season of lies with everything moving forward. I look at Shanahan saying that, meaning there will be a level of commitment either truthfully or for the headlines to create more value for a guy like Trey Lance in case they do decide to move on from him. I think we know either Brock Purdy or Trey Lance will be their franchise guy. And if you can't have two, and I've always thought if you got a guy that had a really good wave as far as spot starting, and Brock Purdy did, then it creates a bunch of angst to a guy like Trey Lance that may end up starting if they do decide to keep him, to where he's you don't want that pressure of messing up and him thinking he's going to get his job taken. They'll have 2 different fan bases now. Unless they get rid of, like, Trey Lance in a sense, because there's going to be a portion of this that says, well, we should just roll with Brock Purdy. Look where he took us. If he didn't get hurt, you got to assume that they would have been in that game a little bit more. So I think they may be trying to up the value, the trade value of a Trey Lance type.
Well, what happens if Trey Lance wins the quarterback battle and you have Purdy as the backup? That's too weird now, I feel like.
Exactly. So I think we've officially hit the season of lies when it comes down to it. I'm not saying they're trying to get Trey Lance out of there. But if everybody and their mom know this offseason that he's up for trade, then they're going to devalue his trade, their offers towards the 49ers.
It just feels like somebody's going to overpay for one of the two.
You're not wrong in that.
It feels like it's a Josh Rosen situation again. And it's hard to compare, obviously, Brock Purdy to Josh Rosen because Brock Purdy has played games and has been good, but it feels like whichever guy gets outside of the Shanahan system and goes somewhere that doesn't have Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Go Vols, and all of those weapons, it feels like someone's going to give up a second and a third and then get a guy that plateaus pretty quickly.
With what you've seen, though, if we're just being football analysts, right, like people that look at the game, the question is you've seen one play more than the other, and that's Brock Purdy. Who do you trust more? I'd almost say if we're looking at trust factor, I'm going with Brock.
Right now.
You trust Brock Purdy more, but coming off of the injury, you don't know what his offseason looks like compared to Trey Lance's.
And that's what threw the wrench in the whole entire thing.
The torn UCL probably ends Brock Purdy's chances to start next season as the starter to me.
Opening day starter?
I mean,
is that a 6 month recovery?
He's going to have to get Tommy John. If he tore his UCL, it's 6 months.
It's 6 months?
That's what was reported, but I don't see a way where he avoids Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
And we're talking more like 9 months at that point. So I'd
that's
say
what I'm saying.
There's a wide range that's possible. But even if it is, let's say it's best case scenario at 6 months from today, you're looking at the beginning of August where you're available to start throwing again.
Starting to throw.
Yeah.
And that's a ramp-up period similar to a pitcher that has to ramp up the volume of their throws again in order to not throw out their arm when they do come back. Because then you got shoulder issues, you got other elbow things, you got wrist. I mean, you got to kind of baby that a little bit, and especially as a quarterback, and not push it too much. Because then if you ramp up your throwing immediately, you're just going to hurt your arm in a different way.
So honestly, maybe they just have Trey Lance that is the starter, like he was this last season. And Purdy just kind of starts as the backup, and once he works his way back, you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, he probably will be the backup for right now.
They're saying the length of your recovery time depends on how severe the injury is. It says it routinely takes professional athletes at least 9 months.
Okay, well that's
and often more than a year before they can return to sports.
Yeah, well then there's your answer. If that's the case, I don't think there's anything to debate. Unless he has a miraculous, thank you, I can't talk this morning, recovery.
All good.
On the other side, the most interesting man in the NFL, Coach Dave McGinnis, will join us. And Kyle Shanahan, can you tell us, is there anyone here in Mobile that doesn't know Coach Mack?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
That's the right answer. Coach Mack on the other side, our weekly visit with the head coach of Titans Radio on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
If you want to be a real hero this Valentine's Day, you got to get to Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds makes it easy with the total romance package. It's the jewelry, the flowers, the candy, and the dinner. All the key ingredients for a memorable Valentine's celebration. And here's how it works. When you buy any piece of jewelry for just $99 or more, Genesis will give you a bouquet of flowers from Jenny's Flowers and a gift card towards a dinner at STK Steakhouse. You know Genesis specializes in romance, too. They have the lasting and timeless gifts that will reflect and celebrate your love. This year, they've pulled together some wonderful Valentine's gift ideas like rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, affordable quality gifts that will be a hit. And of course, if you are getting engaged this Valentine's Day, I actually got engaged on Valentine's Day. Pro tip, fellas, make that happen. And Genesis can create the ring of her dreams with our dazzling GIA diamonds and designer mounting. Unlimited possibilities too. Bring the sparkle and the romance with one-stop shopping at Genesis, where you can spend just $99 or more and get the flowers, the chocolate, and the gift card for dinner free. Happy Valentine's Day from Genesis Diamonds in Green Hills and Cool Springs, and is limited quantity. See store for details.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on a 104.5 The Zone, live from Mobile, Alabama for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl. Thanks to Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric. Crew's all here as we're joined by the most interesting man in radio, Coach Dave McGinnis, stopping by at our table. Good morning, Coach Mac.
Morning, guys.
Hey, Coach.
Here we go.
You got us going. You were like, we're on.
No, we're on. I mean, we're going to have a draft meeting here. And in a draft meeting, everybody's got to have an opinion, and nobody's opinion is wrong. So we're going to start talking. I've got 2 pages full. Right, where's the camera?
Yes, you do. Look at that.
There's 2 pages after 2 days.
Good old notes. Like, I'm a notes person, too.
Well, see, you and I are working. I don't know what these other 2 yahoos are doing.
Fair enough. Coach Mac, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Need great health care coverage with an affordable price tag. Let Farm Bureau Health Plans coach you through it. They've been protecting Tennesseans for 75 years. Coach Mac, before we dive into some of these prospects, we do have a moment from the show earlier this week that we wanted to bring to your attention. A very special guest that we had who had a message for you earlier this week.
Go Frogs.
That was Max Duggan.
You know, I got to sit with Max, and it was great. It really was. And he's everything. I'd never met him before, clearly, but he's everything that he was projected to be. And you've got to love his story and love what he is. The thing about Max, you know, and when I was talking to him, is the fact that the thing that happens in collegiate football, and it's nobody's fault, but these coaches don't have 20 hours a week. Right. They have 20 hours a week, and so, you know, Max is going to now be with a football quarterback guru, a quarterback guru that will now start working on all his mechanics and those types of things, and he was very excited about that. You know, and saying, you know, now at least I can start being rebuilt from the bottom up, because you just don't have time in collegiate football with 20 hours to do it. And he was very, very excited about that. And that's what a lot of these guys will go into now, going into the combine after this is over. They got a little dose of NFL coaching out here, but now they're going to really start getting finite. We've got an NFL player right here that for years he can tell you the difference in technique and the difference in things that you have to learn before you're able to even compete at this level. It doesn't matter whether you're a first-round pick or whether you come in as he did as a free agent, is that there are things you have to learn and that are stability points for every position, and now they get a chance to work on it.
So we were talking to that NFL veteran sitting to your right yesterday about some of these offensive linemen, and I wanted to start there, Coach, with Osiris Torrance from Florida.
Well, you're starting with the right one.
Mountain of a human being at the right guard position.
No, I like him. I like him a lot. I've got his name. I've got 2 pages of guys that I've pinpointed after 2 days, and Osiris Torrance is right there, just because of the fact that he has exactly what you need, and he looks like he has the demeanor. But the thing I like about him is most everything that he does from a square base.
Sure.
And when you look at that and you see that, well, then that's something to build on. And you're right. Well, I mean, you guys have got all the numbers for the height, weight, and all that stuff, but this dude is legitimate sized. So he was one that jumped out. Let me just say this about the offensive line group down here. That's the strongest group down here.
My goodness, isn't it?
As a group, yes, it is, Kayla.
And a lot of SEC guys.
Yeah, it is. And now I'm not sure if any of this group. You know, you've got 32 picks, and there's going to be some of those guys that will fall in there.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that group as a whole, because American team, national team doesn't mean anything to me down here. The thing that I look at is the collection of players at positions, and the position of the offensive line down here is pretty strong.
How good could that maybe be as a benefit, because they might not go in the first round? You have picks later that these guys could be available.
Well, it's huge. I mean, the belly of the draft, you know, it is 2 through 6. You know, that's the belly of the draft, and so they're all not going to go in. Can't go in the first round. But yeah, I mean, so to me, just looking at it, and then what I like to see some cross training going on. Down here too. 2 guys that I looked at that they cross trained quite a bit. You know, Steve Avila from TCU.
Yep.
Okay, they cross trained him and moved him into center, and then Ekiyor from Alabama.
Yes.
When they moved him into center and started working, I like that because now you're starting to see what the NFL coaches and scouts are wanting to look at down here, because any of that cross-training, guys, that you see during these practices is because scouts have said, we'd like to see him do this.
And that's the challenge of it too, Coach Matt, because on game day, it's only 7 available offensive linemen. That's the same goes for linebackers and outside linebackers and DBs too. It's only a limited amount of numbers, and the more value they create by going from guard to center, tackle to guard, that's what you're looking for, Coach Matt.
No, absolutely it is. And and the National Football League has rectified that a little bit. It's 8 now. If you want to dress 46, one of them's got to be the 8th offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And so that's important. And the reason that was installed is just because of the point that you made. With 7, if you have 2 go down, then all of a sudden, you've got your heels on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is well thought out and well planned. But when you see people start cross-training, just like Dylan Horton from TCU, I'd frog him yesterday too. But they're working him inside and outside too,
right.
On the defensive front, which is important.
I just think it's been really cool to watch the battles, up front. At practice, it just seems like it's so much more elevated too. I don't think I've ever been that enthusiastic watching the big guys.
Well, you're watching the right thing because that's what's extremely important, and that's what the scouts are watching too, and that's what the coaches are watching too. If you will see the biggest group collected. Used to be, guys, when we came down here, we first started coming down here, and you were coaching it. Everybody was on the field. Everybody was on the field, and they just surrounded you. They formed a circle around you, and the circle around the offensive and defensive line one-on-ones was massive. Massive. With everybody trying to get a look. Now, they've refined it where everybody needs to be up and off, but if you're down on the field, you can't go around them, stand around them. But the reason is because the game is still won up front, and that's why the attention is there, so your attention was right.
Coach Mack, I want to ask you about a guy because I know you got your notes and you evaluate the same way a lot of these NFL scouts do because you are one of those, Coach Mack. But the Titans in a position where center. I've always been told that's a position you want to have a guy for years, okay? And they have a first-round pick at 11. John Michael Schmidt, the kid from Minnesota. I like him. What did you see from him if the Titans were looking to go that route?
He looks like about a 300-gallon ice box out there, because he is so thick and so square and so powerful with his hands. But the thing about him is, and what amazes me is guys that can be that big and especially that thick can be so quick.
Yes,
and he's a real dude. I've got his name down here. Let me see. There it is. John Jacob Jingleheimer.
Right.
Right. But I like him a lot, and I think being at that position, that pivot position, is something that everybody looks for, because you are so correct in saying this, Ramon. That's a position that if you get it settled, you can start to build around it.
There you go.
You can start to build around it.
And it's interesting too, him having a wrestling background, from my understanding.
It's the best.
That's the angles to your point.
No, that's the best, and it's hand placement, and it's also leverage. When I first got into the league, the center for years that went to the Pro Bowl from the Bears, Jay Hilgenberg, was an amazing wrestler at Iowa. And coming up through high school was a wrestler, and there have been so many throughout the years that have played that position, and the wrestling background is something that just correlates so much to playing center, just because of, first of all, leverage, hand placement.
Yep.
You got to win hand placement, and then you've got to be able to work within a small space.
Yes, you do.
And that all relates to it, Ramon.
Yes,
I know we're mostly watching the big guys, right? But there are some really little guys that are really fast, and one by the name of
Tank.
Dell.
How about Tank?
What? The
Tank,
separation this man gets.
No. Tank is a gadget.
Holy smokes!
Tank is one of those dudes that is. He is really, really. You look at him and you go, yeah, well, this is NFL football, and then he starts breaking people off out there. And the thing about him is that when you have legitimate speed that this guy has, you can even see these people out here that are playing corner. They don't want to get embarrassed deep, because that's the first thing. Did you see that group of kids or some high schools that they were sitting as
Yes,
groups?
they were sitting.
And so anytime anybody gets beat, they just start going crazy. And
it was really funny.
And they start talking. They start talking a lot of junk to the DB that got beat.
Yeah.
Well, none of them want to, and none of them wanted to get beat deep by this guy because they know he can beat them deep. So and then the coaches made the DB start pressing him. Get up and press, because that's what people want to see. Can he get off a press? Can he do that? Well, in doing that, anytime he started to release vertically or started any kind of linear move, they started backing off, and then he'd snap it off. He is so quick. So quick.
Very
now,
quick.
Here's what he didn't help himself with.
Okay.
It's catching the punts.
Yep.
He did not help himself with that
and
at all.
that's important.
No. Well, sure, it's huge, because he's got to be able to do that, and he really struggled catching punts. And they're not doing anything live punting, but I mean just tracking the ball in the air and being able to get under it and being able to get those, the elbows together and look it into the basket and be able to accept it rather than try to go get it. He didn't. He's got to work on that, because that's going to be his role wherever he goes. It's going to be part of it. But the fact that there's two commodities that you can't invent. You can't invent size, and you can't invent speed. You just can't. And so he's got the speed. He needs to work on that. But I was impressed with him. And the other thing is too, is you got to admit, what was he, 157?
He's 160.
163.
Yeah,
that's 157.
Exactly.
But the thing you've got to admire about him is, he is
doesn't play like that.
Well, he goes. He just goes. So anyway, right. You pointed to the right person.
Coach Mack on the other end of the spectrum, 6'2" Jonathan Mingo from Brandon, Mississippi, broke Elijah Moore's single-game receiving record at Ole Miss this past year, 247 yards against Vanderbilt. Earlier this year. What do you see out of him? And, it just looks like Ole Miss has created another big physical wide receiver.
You guys got their measurables here?
Yes, sir.
What's his hand size? You got his hand size?
No, I don't have his hand size.
10 plus.
10 plus mitts.
So he's got some huge mitts on him. And the thing that he's able to do, and you're right, Will, and he played both inside and outside for them. What this guy is a chain mover. He's not an elite speed guy at all. And I don't think you would call him a gadget, chain. But what he can do, he can body position, and then once he gets in there, because there are so many, especially from the slot, there are going to be so many combat catches that you're going to have to make. I like this player. The reason I like this player, too, he understands leverage when somebody gets on his shoulder. He understands leverage, when somebody is behind him. But the fact that he has such strong hands is really going to help him. I like Mingo.
10 and 2/8 hands.
Yeah, what'd I say?
Yeah, Mac, when you write, man.
Well,
that's incredible, all the measurements you just have. It's just there.
But that's all that's up there, though. It's empty with anything else.
Just a lot of numbers.
Yeah, just numbers.
Coach Mack, another strong position group that's down here, and we were on the field yesterday, Coach Mack.
We did. He got us down.
Got pulled, and
first of all, y'all should have been on the field.
Yeah,
thank you.
And we made it happen, Coach Mack, by any means necessary.
You should have been on the field.
And talking to some of the scouts that I knew, and just in general conversation, they said the other strong group is the tight ends.
Yeah. Oh.
My goodness, there's some goodies.
I talked to Luke Musgrave in here.
Yeah, he's a strong one.
And he'll be the one. He will be the one. Even though he played 2 games, the first thing I said to him, I said, Luke, I interviewed your Uncle Bill for an offensive coordinator's job, and I was the head coach of the Cardinals. Didn't hire him. He said, that's okay. But just in talking with him, first of all, very bright. Very bright guy. And I asked him, how's the injury coming? And he said, Coach, it's right on the mark. I said, this is a big time for you now, between now and the end of the combine. He says, oh, I know it. But you've got a guy that's got that kind of size. Now, his reported speed, and I don't go we've got a track guy down here. You don't go on anything that people say, anybody can say they run fast.
Right.
But until you do it, until someone puts a clock on you, until you start doing it. And so I want to see his speed at the combine. But if it's anywhere near what they're saying it is, this guy is going to elevate himself quite a bit.
He's 6'5", 255. So if he is what you think he is, then that's a guy you want on your team to make plays for you.
Well, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And plus just the makeup. Look, he's got NFL in his background.
Yeah.
He's been around it, right? And so he gets it. That's one of the guys to me that had a lot to gain by coming down here.
Yeah.
Just because he only played 2 games this year at Oregon State. And so now, I mean, this is a great showcase for him down here.
What would you want to see his speed at for a guy his size? About under 4.6, 4.5-ish maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I did see a name on here, and I'm pretty excited because I introduced you to Dayon Henley the other day.
Yes.
And that's my Washington State Coug. I'm
I
a
know,
very proud Coug, and I want your honest opinion
on.
on.
He's got coverage ability. He can cover. I mean, and that's why I put him down here because, of course, I cut my teeth on linebackers in this league, and when I watch this stuff going on out here, and the game has elevated or is migrated to the point that backers have to be space players now. I was talking to Nagy, just about that. He said, "Coach, it's changed so much, since I started coaching.
Sure.
You don't have to have a 6'5", 250-pound middle linebacker now that's going to hit a fullback 15, 20 times a game. That's not the game anymore, But Dayon Henley from Washington State can cover.
Yep.
He can cover. And he's a space linebacker. And the other thing is you're playing so much sub-defense now in the National Football League from first down to third down.
Yeah.
And the fact that he can run and he's a space guy means that he'll be immediately, wherever he goes, probably a core team's contributor. So I like your guy.
Okay. I appreciate it. I really wanted the breakdown.
Well,
so
if I didn't
appreciate
like him, I'd still tell you. I like you. But
You got to tell me the truth,
No, I
man. If
will.
you didn't like him, you say, Kayla, I don't like him.
No, I said, you know what? That guy, God had to get him.
Coach Dave McGinnis, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Need great health care coverage with an affordable price. Let Farm Bureau Health Plans coach you through it. They've been protecting Tennesseans for 75 years. Coach, we'll keep these notes and keep talking prospects with you starting next week.
I gave Kayla all my notes the other day.
Yep.
You did.
And I've been studying all these pictures. So I know who everybody is now.
Well, I knew that you would do that.
in
That's
terms
why-
of matching their faces.
I knew you would do that. That's why I gave it to you.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach Mac. Good to see you.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you, Mac.
guys
Safe
did,
travel back, by the way.
Did you guys enjoy your time down here? At the
Oh,
Singapore?
man.
Great.
The food
Loved
is
every
so
minute
good.
of it.
Mac.
The seafood is incredible.
Yeah.
Here,
Speaking of which,
here
Kayla.
it's amazing. Now, here we go, right here.
Look at that.
Here
Don't
we go.
Catch that.
We will break down Senior Bowl with that Washington State linebacker. Coach Mack was just breaking down. Coming up next, Road Caleb and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Well, we are excited to have with us this morning coach of the Lady Belmont Bruins basketball team, Coach Bart Brooks. How are you this morning? You guys getting excited for your game tonight?
It is game day. It is a great day to be a Belmont Bruin, yes.
Okay, so the big matchup coming up tonight against Murray State. What can we really expect to see out of this matchup, Coach?
You know, it's a rivalry game, so I think it's going to be really competitive. We've been playing really well. Our team's on a roll, and I think anyone who comes to watch tonight is going to see two really good teams going at it, and I'm expecting a great environment and a really competitive, fun game.
All right, well, remember, folks, you can get to the game tonight. They want a big crowd in there, so make sure to pack the place. Plus, it's cold outside. You want to be inside where it's warm, where you can have the energy. Bruin fan single game tickets on sale now. Make sure to stop by the ticket office. You can go online and purchase at BelmontBruins.com. Do not miss out also on all the free giveaways and promotions all season long. If you don't want to email, you can always call. That is 615-460-BALL. Make sure to go and support the ladies tonight. Good luck, Coach.
Thanks, Kayla. Appreciate you guys.
Washington State Cougar here in Mobile, Alabama. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. He's Ramon Foster. That's Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling, and we are pleased to be joined by a fellow Washington State Cougar of Kayla Anderson. Deion Henley, linebacker, sits down with us here at the Senior Bowl. Deion, Kayla has been looking forward to this all week, so thank you so much for sitting down with us.
I love to hear that. I mean, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I mean, go Cougs. The way the intro, that's the way to start us off.
That's our best producer in the world back there in Nashville, Tennessee. No,
that's right.
We appreciate you coming on because I know your time is slim right now. But first and foremost, like, what has the experience been like this week so far? Because you are a guy that if you go anywhere right now on social media, like, the draft stock is rising.
I mean, for the most part, it's just been amazing to be here. You know, I'm around a lot of talent right now, and to be amongst these guys and to try to stand out and to do so in these couple of days has, I mean, it's been what I've wanted so far, and I think I'm not done because there's more days ahead of me. And then outside of these days that I have been provided, you know, here at the Senior Bowl, I still have things like the Combine ahead of me, and the Pro Day. So I'm not done. I'm nowhere near. I think I'm just at the finish line. I'm at the starting line right now, and I'm on my way to the finish line. But right now, I'm just happy to be here.
If people don't know your story, you pretty much converted from a wide receiver. Yeah. You went to Nevada and then decided, okay, we're going to switch this up, go into the linebacker position, and then you ended up at what we love now, Washington State, up in Pullman.
Love them. Go Cougs,
the
baby.
Rolling
Go
Palouse. What maybe like changed that perspective for you to change positions, and then, you know, how did you excel at Washington State?
Well, first things first, wide receiver to linebacker, that's the little guy to big guy. Yeah. So I was that little guy running around thinking I was faster than everybody else and trying to escape contact. But then, you know, that big guy mentality sneaks in, and it's like I love contact, you know, and then my coaches could see that early, that I was a guy who wasn't afraid of contact. Even that receiver, put me in on the screen, I'll take it I'll take it yards. You know, I was that guy who would take any type of contact. But then you realize, how long do I want to take the punishment? I'd rather deliver it.
Yeah.
So the mindset, you know, just as I went from receiver to linebacker, and obviously in that in-between process where I was a safety and so forth and all those other positions, I just had to learn, you know, just that defense takes a mental fortitude, a different type of battle, because on offense people are reacting to you, but on defense you have to react, and not only do you react, but you're kind of anticipating movement. So it's a different type of vibe on defense. But so far with the coaches that I've had and being at Washington State, I think I made my most development, you know, being at Washington State, being able to be in a system that I had just transferred from with a coaching staff, the whole coaching staff in totality, from the head coach to the staff, the GA, knowing exactly what they needed me to do and teaching me how to run a scheme. I've just been better off for that.
Washington State linebacker Deion Henley with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. So you had the second most tackles in the Pac-12. 12 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 interception.
One, didn't you?
3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. We just had our draft expert, Coach Dave McGinnis, on with us, raving about your coverage skills at the linebacker position. Do you feel like you've got a leg up on other linebackers understanding what wide receivers want to do, just considering you've played that position?
I would definitely say that being a wide receiver, not only being a wide receiver, a lot of people know this, but I was a quarterback once upon a time. But being able to play those offensive positions does give me that like mentality, knowing going up against this route that they might want to give me that inside head fake just to break outside or what, and so forth and so forth. So I would say that it does give me that type of edge. But also beyond that, I would just say that having that athleticism, that to be in so many different positions, my hips are a little bit looser than that average linebacker. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that I stay smooth in transition and have these quick breaks. And I think that being an athlete has given me that leg for sure.
Real quick, the transition to wide receiver to linebacker, you look like a linebacker.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
No doubt.
Got the abs and everything. They call him the Ranger.
I mean, seriously, legitimately, what was that like? Because most wide receivers are like, nah, we're good, you know, like gaining weight. You put it on and you put it on right.
Well, that right there is just genetics. I gotta give my parents some love, man. I gotta give them some love right now because I'm one of of those guys who grew up just eating whatever.
Yeah.
And just being an athletic freak. And I know we all know those guys, but I was definitely giving my parents the genetics. I mean, the credit on the genetics because, I mean, as many strength coaches as I've had, you know, it's never been one specific diet plan that they put me on. I kind of, as I went over my just with all these scouts, we talk about how did you gain this weight? Basically, the question you just asked me, and we just, as you look at it, from 190 a receiver, I just progressively gained about 10 to 5 each offseason, but with the position that I was transitioning into, and then by the time I was a nickel, that 2020 turning into linebacker, I was like 225.
Beautiful.
Dang.
And then boom, 227, 232 just this last season. And
that'll
here I
work.
am.
Before we go, have you talked to the Tennessee Titans at all down here?
I definitely have talked to the Tennessee Titans.
Would you like Nashville, let's say, if it happened?
Well, I mean, if it was to happen, I would like Nashville. But I can't turn down any teams.
No, of course you can. I'm just trying
to
to bring the energy over to Nashville. You know what I'm saying? You know?
It's love for every single team until I'm
Absolutely.
on that one team that love me more than every other team.
Except for the Cougs, because we're always loyal there.
Oh, yeah,
hey,
go Cougs, baby.
buddy, appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There's Deion Henley giving us a couple minutes on a very busy day here at the Senior Bowl. More coming up. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
8:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. After moving up to number 2 in the polls, which they will be for the remainder of the week, Tennessee delivered a stinker last night, falling to Florida 67-54. The Vols shot just shy of 28% from the field, including 20% from the three-point line. Zakai Ziegler scored 15 to lead the Vols, while Colin Castleton scored a game-high 20 points for the Gators. Belmont fell to rival Murray State 83-82. Ben Shepherd led all scorers with 35 points and had 9 rebounds. The Lady Bruins will take on Murray State tonight at the Curb Event Center. And Hall of Fame NFL executive Bobby Beathard has died at the age of 86. His death was from complications from Alzheimer's disease. He passed away at his home in Franklin, Tennessee. As a GM, he helped Washington to 2 Super Bowls. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone, into half number 2 of our third and final show here in Mobile, Alabama. With Will Foster and Kayla Anderson.
Look at the emphasis on
Jonathan
that.
Schaefer back at our 104.5 The Zone studios.
The best producer in the world!
The world, Craig. The world.
I don't know. I'm Will Bowling. We talked about Forrest Gump the other day, so I've got to give a tip of the cap to Forrest Gump while we're in Alabama. All right, anyway. My voice is echoing off the walls like
that was really, really loud. That was fantastic. The echo carried the whole way to Middle Tennessee there, Will.
I feel like Slay when he does Car Ain't Got No Roof live on Radio Row anywhere. It's fantastic.
Anywhere. I'm here for it.
615-737-1045 our number. We haven't been able to take a lot of phone calls this week, but have a little bit of time to do so for the second half of the show this morning. Good conversation with Deion Henley of the Washington State Cougars.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I had to ask at the very end if he had talked to the Titans because we had just gotten done with Coach Mack, kind of explaining what he liked about him, and he stood out yesterday. And as he was leaving, he actually then reiterated he had talked with them twice, and he also said got to meet head coach Mike Vrabel, which also we all know what Vrabel played. So I thought that was fun. But no, good stuff from him. A really, really cool guy who's had a journey and making the most of it.
I know, to go from wide receiver to, change schools and beef up the way he did, like that's a lot of players are resistant to that because in your mind you spent your whole life being this thing, and especially going from offense to defense the way he did. That's commendable on him on recognizing I'm better suited on the other side of the ball.
And he said, I wanted to be the one that delivered the hits.
Yeah.
That's a guy who likes ball too.
Loves physicality.
His story is a crazy one, like you mentioned. Originally a 2-star recruit out of Crenshaw High School in Los Angeles. Originally committed to Nevada in 2017 and spent his first couple of seasons on the offensive side of the ball. And it's not like he was just a receiver that was buried on the depth chart. He was playing. He had 3 touchdowns, 17 receptions for 232 yards in his first 2 seasons. I think where you find value in Deion Henley and at the linebacker position on day 2 and 3 is in guys that can play that gadget special teams role as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah. And someone like that who understands the offensive side of the ball, but had a catch on a fake punt in the Apple Cup last year as well. You think about the value of some of these guys later on in the draft. You've got to be able to do 2 or 3 jobs. Deion Henley can excel in every job that he does on your football team. And I think if the Titans are going to go forward with Monty Rice at linebacker, you need a coverage linebacker to pair with that guy.
Absolutely.
If Monty Rice is the main, green dot guy moving forward. So regardless of what happens with David Long, I think you're looking for a second linebacker. I'm not sure that's a position that you need at a premium in the first or second round.
Right.
It feels like a day 3 option the Titans are going to have, and Deion Henley appears to be the best fit down here of any of those possible linebackers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And his skill set, as we spoke about too, Will, like him being flexible enough to be in coverage, play the run game because he likes physicality too. He even highlighted that by saying, more than anything, he has the hips of a wide receiver where he can drop in coverage. That's one thing Coach Mack highlighted about him. And in today's NFL, the downhill Brian Urlacher type, the Ray Lewis types, where we're used to seeing those legendary guys. No, you got to have a guy that knows how to play the passing game really, really well, but also has a knack for physicality and filling the hole when it comes down to stopping running backs or running quarterbacks in today's NFL. So that speed, that agility, that athlete is a guy that's got to be highlighted at that linebacker position, which is why you love David Long Jr. so much.
Exactly.
Mike Vrabel is also so hands-on with the defense that it seems like we oftentimes get a higher than expected pick for his defense. Like last year when Roger McCreary was picked at the beginning of the second round, I think a lot of us were really surprised.
I kind of was.
That he was taken at that point. So of those linebackers, you have Deion Henley, who you could reach for a little bit. You've also got Servassier Dennis at Pittsburgh, who Ramon really likes. I don't know, you got the chance to watch him a lot yesterday. That's a guy that's played different linebacker spots within the Pitt defense, and is a Swiss Army knife on that side of the ball.
He is. Multiple sacks this year, so he can rush the quarterback. He's also had a few tackles for loss. I like them in coverage. I like them against us when we played them this year, y'all. When Pitt played the Vols this year in Pittsburgh, he was the catalyst to getting that defense ran. Like, he was the heartbeat of it. And we saw him yesterday, and Caleb was like, man, he's more slender than I thought. It's basically, and I was just like, don't let that fool you, and it didn't. But because he's a physical guy, he was running,
and he played
through.
Physical. I'll say that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He was. I'm talking about hitting the middle of our offensive line as far as the Vols go this past year. I like his style, and this is one of those things too where I'm probably looking at the legacy of a school, because I say to myself, Pitt and Coach Narduzzi.
Well, that's what I asked you.
Guys.
I was like, "What? This program is known for, like, especially defensively. They have put so many guys in the league." And I had specifically asked you about this because I'm like, "Is there something that they're doing, like, Chattanooga? UT Chattanooga is now pumping out offensive linemen."
When you have a system like this, or a school that knows, look, they're not going to get all the 5 stars unless Pitt get a big time NIL. So you got to develop guys. Servassier Dennis is a guy that's had to be developed there and play and get stronger and understand the game, so his production goes up. If all things check out, speed, health, film study with these coaches when they go into these meetings, he can justify himself being a higher round guy. Now, I'm not saying first. I'm saying, man, you never know what happens between 2 to 5. To me, I think those are still really good rounds for guys that become your core team. That becomes that sweet spot of saying, boy, if we get a third rounder that can start for us eventually, that linebacker, that's beyond major.
615-737-1045 is the number. If you missed it earlier on in the show, we also have a new character on this show.
Oh, gosh.
Kyle Shanahan.
We do.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
So in any given situation, Kyle, can you tell us, is there a chance that we pass by going to Nashville today without stopping to get peach ice cream?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Okay, thank you so much. That then confirms our plans. That was Kyle Shanahan talking about Jimmy Garoppolo not coming back as the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, and maybe some other characters that tend to pop up, whether in free agency. There is one guy who could be an option.
John Cena!
Oh, my gosh.
John Cena has crashed our show. Sorry, every now and then when John Cena lets you know that he wants to be invited onto the show, felt a little left out when Kyle Shanahan was the only one getting added today. So, when John Cena asks, you listen.
But you never see John Cena.
No, of course not.
Okay, all
Did you
right.
see him just now?
What is...
This comes from Shafe and I talking about some of the best YouTube videos of all time last night, and that one, so the video of the prank call from a radio station, where there was a prank call to this one lady. They would just ask her random questions, and it was a promo for a WWE event. And so they would call her, and they would go, "Is Champ there?" And she would be like, "I don't know who Champ is." And it would go, "Well, you can find out this It would be like, it's really good.
What's funny
so
about
at any given moment, John Cena might just kneecap you from now on the show.
What's funny about the John Cena thing is this. Like, I saw on my Twitter, the tweets, he followed me. I was like,
John Cena?
John Cena follows me. He currently does. I couldn't hit follow back.
Whoa, when did this happen?
Pipe down
I'm
real
sorry.
quick. I got y'all.
Okay.
I think this is John Cena's one of those folks that you can't see. That's his gimmick anyway, right? But you look at his profile, he's whoever's running his profile follows every verified account, though.
Yeah, who run it?
I don't know
who run it.
But he is one of those types. Like, I was like, yeah, he knows who I am. Lo and behold, this dude's got like over 10,000 people he follow.
See.
I'm like,
That, by the way, is who run it.
Yeah.
So he follows like a whole bunch of.
Look at that.
Oh, whoa. Okay. He has 14 million followers, but he follows 538.7 thousand people.
So I'm not as special as I
Yeah,
thought.
you're not. Like most offensive linemen, you're not that special.
I know, but I got excited. Shave.
Yeah,
and
but like John Cena, we couldn't see it.
You know,
Jonathan Schaefer, 8-12-30, by the way. Ramon Foster saying, "I'm not as special as I thought."
That's right. Thank you.
In case you needed that, by the way.
You know what? That's why I ask all the questions at dinner so I can bring the highlight to myself, Will. Note to self with Will Bowling. Ask all the questions to the waiters that we have at restaurants.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
615-737-1045, the number. And coming up next, we hit more of the headlines from down here in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. I want to ask Ramon and Kayla who their favorite player that they've watched down here is, and also who their favorite fit for the Titans is. And we'll see if Kayla goes with her Washington State Cougar, perhaps, in Dayon Henley, who we just spoke to. That's coming up next as we continue to broadcast live from Mobile for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl with Kyle Shanahan and John Cena on 104.5 The Zone.
Everybody's talking about regenerative medicine now because people who have joint pain are getting real lasting relief without drugs or surgery. Hash Ramon Foster and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting treatment. They use highly concentrated healing agents from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. And if you have ongoing joint pain from arthritis or injury, you need to call QC Kinetics. Don't assume that steroids and surgery are your only options. Times have changed, and regenerative medicine can get you moving again without downtime. So stop taking those pain meds and discover this remarkable alternative that pro athletes have been using for years. Thanks to QC Kinetics, this amazing treatment option is now available for folks like you and me who are sick and tired of joint pain. Don't put this off any longer. Spring is coming and you want to enjoy all life has to offer. So call QC Kinetics now at 615-249-4024 and get a free consultation with your local medical professional. The number is 615-249-4024.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone. A very good Thursday morning to you in Nashville, Tennessee, as we continue to broadcast live from here in Mobile for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling, and we are pleased to be joined by the executive director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, stopping by here to give us a couple of minutes on a very busy day. What's going on, Jim? How are you?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for coming down.
No doubt.
This has been a blast, by the way.
Rolling down I-65.
Straight
Yeah.
down I-65.
Straight shot.
Kayla is proudly has her Washington State mug today because we just talked to Deion Henley.
I was going to say, I was walking across the bridge that comes over here, and I saw Deion come. I don't know exactly where that guy's coming from.
I was like, there's not
No
many
doubt.
of us, so when we have a gem like Deion, you got to really represent.
We've had some good Cougs in the game. The first year
Yeah.
we had Minshew, and then we had Andre Dillard, who went in the first round after being
Who's
down
going to
here.
the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Eagles?
Andre's been he's stuck behind some
Yep.
really good players in Philly. I think he's a guy. If you're on the pro personnel side of an organization, like that's a guy you're kind of circling because
I agree.
he's. I mean, every team wants him. I know Philly loves having him as a swing backup, but he's a good player.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Jim, when you look at the growth of this game and just where this thing has come since you started here, just how cool is it to see how big this event has gotten? And I just can't believe the mass rush of all the media members to get on the field and interview all these players. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's rewarding. I'm happy for the city. That was the goal, is to grow this thing, and this Mobile's got is a city a lot of haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
There's not. I always used to joke when I worked in the NFL as a scout, like I was part of the 5% middle class in Mobile. but no, the game brings a lot to the city. Social media has been huge. I said it the other day in the press conference. The first year we were here, between my Twitter account and the Senior Bowl Twitter account, we had 40 million impressions. In 2018, this year we were over 400 million. So I think that's just increased the visibility. The game's been great forever, but social media has really allowed us to market it better. And it's been weird though. I'm an NFL scout. Like, I drive around the country. I go school to school watching players and typing reports, and now I'm thrust into this job. I'm like, okay. Let's go. Let's figure out some new things to do. But no, it's been a lot of fun.
What made you kind of want to pivot to something like this?
Well, it was really a family decision. So we moved here in 2007. This is my wife's hometown. We were living in Cleveland, Ohio. I was scouting for the Patriots at the time, and I came home. This is not how it happened. This is how my mind's eye remembers it. Like her standing out on me pulling up after like a 3-week road trip. Her standing out on the porch, like snow falling, and holding our infant son, saying we have to move.
Yeah.
So that got us. She just needed help.
Yes.
I mean, you're on the road 200 nights a year, so it was really a family thing. So when the job came open in 2018, my son was in 8th grade, just getting into high school. Plays football, basketball, and I knew how much I was going to miss of that if I was in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so I called our GM in Seattle, John Schneider, and he's known my family. John's might be my best friend in football, and so it was an easy phone call to make. Usually when you call your boss on stuff like that, and I'm like, John, I got to go for this job, don't I? He's like, you're dang right.
Yeah.
He said he didn't say it like this, but he said you're dang right you do. So no, it's been, and I'm lucky they picked me.
That's awesome. When you look at the way this game is kind of presented, the platform for not just, the 40, not for just medical, you actually are presenting and platform for these young prospects so they can actually show what they do on the field.
Yep.
How does it feel? I know you're slogan, the draft starts here. Like, this is the platform in which they have.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the strategy too. When I interviewed for the job, I think the people around the game, our board, our chairman, like there was a little bit of this is our home, like our home. It was like a hometown game.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we're not hitching our wagons to the NFL draft process, we're not doing this thing right. So I said, there used to be a time where if you had a script A on your helmet from Alabama or Auburn, or your birth certificate said Mobile, Alabama, you had a pretty good darn chance of getting in the Senior Bowl. I said, that's not going to happen. And if you don't see it the same way, well, then I'm not your guy. But no, I told the guys at orientation, this is it, fellas. This is your last opportunity to play football, and that's what it's all about. I just had this talk this morning with a player at breakfast, and I get the combine and the allure of it. It's been on TV since these guys were little.
Yep.
I remember when they put it on the NFL Network, we were all there, all scouts sitting around one day at the combine. We're like, nobody's going to watch this thing. Like, who's going to watch short shuttles and vertical jumps? Boy, was I wrong on that one. But with the football piece, I just draw it back to my experience in the NFL. The teams I worked for, because you're always trying to self-scout yourself, self-scout your organization, what we could do better. I felt like the majority of the time we missed on players, it was we put way too much stock in what happens in shorts and T-shirts. Football ain't played in shorts and T-shirts. So, no, this is a great opportunity for these players.
I appreciate you saying that, because that's a portion in which most of the coaches, there's one drill where the majority of the eyes go to, and that's O-line versus D-line stuff. And some guys just don't test well, or you won't see that physicality side of them in shorts and T-shirts when they come down to it. And this presentation right here, you see GMs, coaches, scouts flock to the bigs. And I think that's a unique item that nobody else has.
Well, I think with that O-line, D-line, it's my favorite drill because they take back-to-back reps against the same guy.
Yes.
Like wide receiver DB one-on-ones are different because you can't like line right back up and run another route.
Right.
So, the guys, they take a rep. One guy loses, one guy wins, usually clearly. I mean, sometimes it's split, but usually there's a winner and loser, and you can see when you're up in it, you see the reaction, you see the facial expression, you see the body language, like who just snaps back and competes the next, and that's what they're looking for. That's the stuff that doesn't. When you watch the coaches tape from the college season, you don't get to see facial expressions, you don't get to see some of that stuff. So,
can I ask you about one matchup we heard yesterday?
Yeah.
Aaron Donald and was Travis Frederick.
Zach Martin.
Yeah. What was that?
Gold jacket on gold jacket.
Did you know they were going to be that? Like, what was that battle like? Because we heard about it yesterday. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
What I remember is, Aaron came because people were, can you believe this now in hindsight? Like, people were questioning Aaron Donald because of his arm length.
Yeah, I heard about it.
That's why he came. He's like, whatever he had that last year at Pitt, like 30 tackles for loss. I mean, he was a dominant player. But he felt like he still needed something to prove. But the unique thing about that week, those two dudes made sure when they got in line that they were going against each other. They took every rep the whole week. I don't know if either of them took a rep against anyone else. It was unbelievable.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. But now, shoot, I mean, they're both going in the Hall.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Donald is going to on the Mount Rushmore, best defensive players ever, and Zach's been the best guard in football for a long time. So those were epic battles.
That's unique, man.
Every year there's a player, 2, 3 that stick out, and I know Malik Willis had a great Senior Bowl last year. This year, when you're looking at some of the guys, like who's stood out to you so far in the first couple of days?
It's hard for me to watch a lot because I'm just walking around and shaking hands,
doing all
the mayor stuff, But I do talk to a lot of my buddies.
Yep.
I'll say this: next week is my favorite week of the year because my phone doesn't ring, there's no text, and I sit there in my office for a week,
study a little,
and we we get together as an office. The football staff gets in my office, and we just watch practice. It's the best day, the best week of the year. But no, some of the guys I've been talking to the guys in the league about. DeJuan Jones from Ohio State had a really good day. Darnell Wright. Yeah, I had an offensive line, a scout that's an offensive lineman who's actually in the Hall of Fame. And he came up. He's like, Darnell Wright's made him some money today. He had a really good day yesterday. There's a lot of guys on that front. Defensively, there's a linebacker we called up last Thursday from Sacramento State. We hadn't had a Sac State player in the game in forever. His name's Marte Mapu.
Yeah.
And he's only 220 pounds, but he was coming downhill in 9-on-7 run drill, and it was loud.
Yeah.
Like the collisions, the violence that kid's got in his body. I was actually watching that drill with Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin looked over at me at one point, and I was like, dang.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys that are having these first couple of days have been fun. A lot of guys are doing well.
And what you see, too, is your core guys have an opportunity, to your point about linebackers coming down. They do special team drills here, too, because there's only so many positions. This isn't college. You better make yourself valuable on kickoff, punt return, punting, and stuff like that. I saw y'all have that set up here for guys.
Yeah, special teams is huge. You know, a lot of these guys don't get asked to do it in college because they're the stars of their program. But if you don't buy in, man, if you're not a first or second round pick, you're playing on special teams. And if you don't buy into it, if you get to the NFL, if you get drafted, you have the physical ability to play on special teams. I've seen it time and time again. I've been a part of teams. I've fought battles for players that have been drafted, and we get them there like wide receivers, DBs, and they can't crack the starting lineup right away, and then they don't buy into the special team stuff, and they're out of the league in 2 years. So there's a lot of buy-in. I told the players at our orientation, like, fellas, don't take these special teams periods off.
No.
And the other part of that is they got the zebra tracking stuff on their pads, so we're getting all the speed data.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, just bust it down on kick cover or punt cover
Right.
one time, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what time, what period. They don't know that. They can trace it. Obviously, the zebra people can trace it, but they'll crank out the data numbers to the teams, and all they'll see is the number on the sheet that you ran that fast. So I'm like, just run down and
I know, because I saw
clock a time.
You
man.
had tweeted out about the Iowa State DB,
Yeah,
and
the Iowa, yeah.
State just produces guys, like especially defensively. We got Amani Hooker up there in Tennessee, and I was like, man, this is cool. They're like tracking everything.
Yeah, no, the tracking stuff has been a cool part of it. We, it actually come in really handy.
Iowa, I meant, sorry.
Yeah, no, same thing. I mean, I'll say that. No, the tracking stuff's been great because the COVID year, when the initial COVID year hit, we had some guys playing the Senior Bowl. They went to the Combine, and really, COVID, they canceled everything about 4 days after we left Indy that year. Wow. But we had some players that were here, played through the week, went to the Combine, opted not to run a 40 because they thought they were just going to do it at their pro day, and then boom, everything's canceled. So the teams called us, like, Jim, can we get the zebra data because, this guy, and this guy – they didn't run an Indy and we don't have a 40, so so that stuff has been really valuable.
Jim Nagy, our guest, executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. One guy who's not playing on the field but is here is Hendon Hooker.
Yeah,
we got the chance to catch up with him yesterday. Just how impressed are you with his leadership, with his maturity, having played so much football and the experience he had leading that Tennessee program last year?
I'm impressed with just who the dude is.
Fact.
Like. Leadership, he's definitely trying to lead down here. I mean, he's, not out there in pads, but I see him dabbing up guys between drills and trying to bring good energy. But the humbleness of that guy, like he's just a down to earth, really grounded. We've asked him to do some other things because he's not playing some media stuff and whatnot. He doesn't flinch. He's just, again, I met him for a little bit at the Manning camp over the summer. And then I was up there in Knoxville in August, and we spoke again a little bit. But just being around him now, I mean, he's a special dude now.
Yeah.
I mean, I really wish he would have been able to finish out the season for the Vols, but I still think even regardless of that, I mean, he's cemented himself in a place in that school's history.
Oh, wow.
I think Vol fans are going to see Hendon as one of their best players of all time.
Another quarterback we've talked a lot about, I think that a lot of people have talked a lot about, is Fresno State's Jake Haener. And the NFL is a copycat league, and people are watching what Brock Purdy did in San Francisco this year and looking for that high-value, plug-and-play, if-you-need-it guy to be a backup quarterback. How does Jake Haener fit within a skill set of an NFL team? And what have you seen from him this week?
I'll say this, I talked about the self-scouting part of it. Teams are going to be doing that about Brock Purdy. Like, what did we miss on here?
Yeah.
And I think the main thing is he played a ton of football at Iowa State or Iowa, wherever he played.
Fresno State, there you go. I know. Many of these things.
But when you look at this group we have down here, I mean, Max Duggan started 40-some games at TCU. Jake Haener started a gazillion games at Fresno State. What I love about Jake is that he's got some swagger to him. He's got a, I'll call it a healthy confidence. Like,
he's tough, too.
It doesn't rub me wrong. I talked to this guy for 10 seconds on the phone when we invited him. I was like, okay. Like you
knew.
Yeah, I knew. You could feel it. Like, this guy knows he's good. And his teammates obviously feed off that because he's one of those guys. He's got some captain comeback to him. Like he's led that team to a lot of big wins down the stretch in games. So guys believe in him, and for a guy that's only like Drew Brees' size, he's only about 6 foot. I can't even remember what he measured down here, but not the biggest guy in the world, but he can throw it.
Yep.
So yeah, he's had a good couple days.
I know the question will come up at some point, or maybe you've been asked, but the juniors that come out, has there ever been a thought think tank to be like, hey, maybe we can get something for the juniors coming out? Will they ever get an invite to this? Or if it's the understanding that if you're a junior leaving early, you're probably good enough and you don't need this. You know what I'm saying? Has that conversation come up?
Yeah. So we can bring juniors as long as they graduate. So that's been a rule that's been in place for about 9 years. But that was one of the things when I got the job. Like, that was one area I felt like we could improve. I think the most juniors that ever had in the game was 4.
Okay.
And now the last couple of years, 2 years ago we had 16. Last year we had 12, and that's really helped our rosters.
Yeah.
So it's just identifying which guys are going to graduate. So that's a combination of having contacts with academic people at the schools, or agents will tell us the guys are going to graduate, or coaches will they're honest now. I'll call them up before the season, like, you got any guys that are going to graduate? But I think it's going to be revisited. I know there's a big push from the league, from the 32 teams. I know the initial thing with the juniors was, let's not let them into all-star games because that's serve as an enticement for guys to leave college early.
That's so true.
And I don't think we're there anymore, man. Like, that's one thing I'd say about NIL and portal. NIL's been good to us because it's allowed those guys that have like a family circumstance that just need a little money to help, mom or dad get by. They can get that through NIL now. So now they stay in.
Yep.
A lot of guys were making bad decisions, really out of an emergency. Like, they just felt like they had to do it. Now they're making smarter decisions because of NIL, keeping them in. I don't think guys are bouncing right now if they get to play in an all-star game or not. Like that. The decision's bigger than that. I understand why the league office was fearful of it, because it is a free feeder system. They're not trying to upset the apple cart with college football. But I hope we revisit it, because there's your guy Kevin Colbert up there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He's been a big push behind. Let's just open this thing up to all the juniors, because it does really benefit them.
Look at NIL helping out the other side over there, man. Who would ever thought?
Yeah, man. Seriously, think about how many players, and more. I'm probably more in tune with it because you go into schools every day and you hear where these kids come from, man. A lot of these guys come from really rough backgrounds, and
seriously,
and they feel like they have to provide. That they're in a desperate situation. Oh, I might as well take my shot, and maybe taking your shot a year early isn't the smartest move. So now they don't have to do it. It's a good thing.
What's crazy is that NIL stuff could just be a matter of a couple $100s a month.
Yeah.
Like, I know they're getting paid. Sometimes a guy just need an extra $250 a month to keep him in college.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? To help family out. So that is a good thing.
Jim, on the way out, I love the tweet you sent out the other day that all 32 teams will meet with every player here, so no need for the classic tweets of, player X has met with team A and B and C.
Yeah.
How cool is that for you guys to get to be able to say that?
Yeah, those tweets, they bother me. It's like, just quick, get out of my timeline with that stuff, man. They're talking to everyone. But no, it's what we had to do during the COVID year. We had our game during COVID. We kind of forged ahead that year. There wasn't a combine. There wasn't any other all-star games. But, we had a plan. We were confident in it. We bubbled this thing. We stripped away all the different events, practice, game. That's it. And it was stressful. We gave 3,600 COVID tests that week, and so every morning I was waking up like, oh my god, because I was fearful of like a whole position group getting wiped out, like the whole O-line room on one team is out. But no, we had to rethink a lot of things that year, and one of them was formalizing the interview process. So these guys, Monday night and Thursday night, they meet with half the league on each night. Mm-hmm. And then there's 3 other periods where they can, just grab them as they go. But we have a structured, this player is meeting with this team at this time. So then if a GM wants to meet with certain players, he can look at his roster for the night and be like, okay, I got to be there this time, this time, this time. So it's worked. It's worked well.
Love it. Jim Nagy, our guest this morning, Executive Director of the Senior Bowl here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Thanks so much for having us. This has been great. We've enjoyed it this week.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
No doubt.
This is awesome having you guys down here. Hope you come back for more.
We're planning on it next year.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Good stuff. More coming up. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at League Company, and it may be cold outside, but that doesn't mean you have to take a cold shower. League Company is offering $500 off or special financing on tankless water heaters this month. That's right, endless hot water at your fingertips that saves energy, money, time, and space. So don't miss out on this great deal. Call League Company today at 615-567-1000. That's 615-567-1000, and contact the folks who have been trusted for nearly 80 years in our community. They're open 24/7. They've got a big fleet ready to help you at a moment's notice, and make sure that your water in your home is warmer than that temperature outside. $500 off or special financing on tankless water heaters this month. That's LeagueCompany.com. 615-567-1000. League Company, all you need. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Appreciate the executive director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, stopping by for a couple minutes with us as we get ready for our fourth and final hour from Mobile coming up in just a couple of minutes. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. What do you take away from that conversation?
His vision for this game is going to continue to grow. The idea that players come here and create a lot of value for themselves, he takes pride in that. He takes pride in the fact that this isn't about him and it's about the players. Like, this is a big hub for all NFL business, you know?
Yeah.
And he is on the forefront of that. Jim Nagy is a guy that and the Senior Bowl committee. I mean, this is a legit thing, and I know there's a badge of honor for guys that get that invite and play in these games too. So I like it.
I just liked the process that kind of brought him here because he was a scout, Will, you said for 18 years, and clearly decided you got to make a family move at some point, but then decided, hey, what else is there out there that I could build upon this NFL background?
Yeah.
And he seems like he has done so much. We were just talking to Coach Mack during the break, and he said from the facilities that they're at now at South Alabama to where they just hold all of the meetings and where this takes place, the radio shows, it's night and day from what it used to be. And the more that continues to be upgraded, and like he said about the impressions on social media, it's through the roof. I mean, my timeline is all Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference. And that if that continues, I mean, this thing could be even bigger.
Yeah, it could be. And it's just a really good interview before the big one in Indianapolis that has to happen. So good on him.
The thing I take away from that, from the Tennessee perspective, is that Darnell Wright's really helped himself this week.
Yeah, he has.
That was a good source to have in that sense, saying had a Hall of Fame offensive line scout tell me that Darnell Wright has made himself a lot of money this week.
Well, we saw him do work too, like his and that's what you don't see. Like, guys got to be able to practice well too, especially at those type of positions, because if you can block or not is a huge aspect of whether you get on the field or, in the NFL and in college in general too. And we saw his run blocking. You saw the ability to him to roll his hips when he was coming off the line of scrimmage. And you also saw him go up against guys that were way smaller, i.e. quicker than him rushing off the edge, and he held his own. Wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But this is practice settings, you know what I'm saying? So, great commentary for him.
And the impressive thing about Darnell Wright, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, is that he doesn't give up any ground off the ball. He is at the focal point of the attack, meaning like he's making the first contact. You see a lot of these guys, they let the defensive end get about a half yard deep, and then they engage and try to push him away, obviously. Darnell Wright is springing off the ball forward almost. Do you get the sense he's trying to work a little bit more on the run blocking and firing off the ball, since that's maybe a little bit more of a weakness for him?
I think that's just him probably in general, yeah. And of course, you know in these type of settings, that guy on the other side is legitimately trying to embarrass you. So I looked at it more or less of him just saying, I'm going to match you where you're at. And he did that well yesterday and this entire week from all we've heard around and about Darnell Wright. His name has rung loud this week.
615-737-1045. We are wide open for the next hour plus as we wrap up the week and give our biggest takeaways from Senior Bowl practice here in Mobile, Alabama. Before we get to our favorite players and our favorite fits for the Titans in the last hour, favorite thing we've eaten while we were here, guys?
Oh, my God.
The red snapper I had last night.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
I've talked about food as much as I've talked football, I think, this week, but that's okay.
I think because we had mahi I had mahi the first day. I'm a whitefish person. I love the lighter fish.
Yeah.
But the mahi I had last night at Felix's, holy smokes, the seasoning was right on, and then you paired that with that stuffed baked potato, everything loaded.
Yeah.
Man.
Buck picked a good spot. I got to give him credit. I don't know who suggested it to him.
Kyle Shanahan, do you see a scenario where we give more credit to Buck Rising after today's show?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Yeah, I didn't really either, but we will for now. For me, it was the charbroiled oysters on day one.
Okay.
Yeah, they were good.
Those were tasty.
They were.
A little bit of cheese on there.
Yeah. Parmesan.
Parmesan. Yep.
Well, it's time to put 4 fingers in the air Fourth quarter of the show.
Four's up.
Coming up
Already.
next here on 104.5 The Zone, we continue with our biggest takeaways from Senior Bowl. We hear from the quarterback who has been making the rounds and who has been garnering quite a bit of discussion here in Mobile. But coming up next, the Tennessee prospect we've probably talked the least about this week in Byron Young, who we were able to catch up with coming off the practice field yesterday. We will hear from him. We will take your phone calls at 615-737-1045 for 60 more minutes in Mobile on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
John C.
8:59. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. To college basketball last night, they moved up to number 2 in the polls, but didn't play up to that ranking against Florida. The Vols lost at the Gators 67-54. The Vols shot just shy of 28% from the field, including 20% from the three-point line. Zakai Ziegler scored 15 to lead Tennessee, while Colin Castleton scored a game-high 20 points for the Gators. Belmont fell to rival Murray State 83-82. Ben Shepherd led all scorers with 35 points, also had 9 rebounds. And Hall of Fame NFL executive Bobby Beathard has died at the age of 86. His death was from complications from Alzheimer's disease, and he passed away at his home in Franklin, Tennessee. As a GM, he helped Washington to 2 Super Bowls. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, brah.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. There's the sounds of Kayla Anderson, of Ramon Foster, and back in our 104.5 The Zone studios, Jonathan Schaefer making the show happen.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Okay, maybe not making the show happen. Kirby Allen Kirby is here as well. I'm Will Bowling. Our trip to Mobile, Alabama for the 2023 Reese's Senior Bowl is presented by Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric. Appreciate them making this trip possible, and we've eaten well. We've talked to a lot of prospects. We've had a good time.
We really have, and we've worked a lot, which is awesome because you think we're up at 4 a.m. Usually we put in our hours. We go do some things. We're all day, baby, all day this week.
Out here just adulting and being responsible and making stuff happen, getting a whole bunch of intel. This was a cool event to be a part of, for sure.
I mean, you've been hanging out with Kirby all week. I don't know how responsible you've really been. Let's be honest about this.
Oh, he's on.
Hey, man, we've been rescuing animals, saving babies.
Tell them, Kurt.
Thinning out the shrimp population.
Didn't we pull a boat out of the water, too?
Well, I wasn't there for that because I was stuck here with Buck, but I did hear about
you
that.
See, I told you. We're not just down here just playing around, Kurt.
No.
We're solving problems.
We can't speak for Buck because he's not surfaced yet this morning. But we are
oh, yeah, that's right. He's usually here a little earlier.
I've been doing those same things, too. I've been, kissing babies and hugging hands. I
don't know what you want me to say. I don't know what my friends. Lucas says, all my friends are down here. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in.
Kayla, didn't you pull a net off a bald eagle, too?
I did, yeah. I definitely
did that really happen?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
They hating on you, Kayla. That's all that
is. I mean, I've got to stay humble, though.
Yeah.
Out in these streets.
I mean, everyone's
from Spokane, Washington, baby. We stay humble.
902. Okay.
Well, I can tell you who got humbled last night. The Tennessee basketball Volunteers.
Yeah, he did.
Dang it. Joe Lenardi, why do you got to put that out there?
Man.
Put that out into the environment, into the atmosphere.
Context is Joe Lenardi had Tennessee as a 2 seed going into yesterday's game, which was still the wrong decision given the resumes that each team had.
Hey, Joe, bracket this.
Yeah.
He still wasn't right.
Whatever this was, I don't want any part of it, Shafe.
Well, I mean, if Tennessee was Alabama, though, maybe a road loss against a bad team won't hurt them because it clearly didn't hurt the Crimson Tide, who he still had as a 1 seed.
They went down as 4?
No, they went down to nothing. They were still number 2 in Joe Lenardi's poll.
Oh, and Joe Lenardi
going into yesterday's game.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, that's personal.
Anyway,
he loves them.
One interesting stat, though, it's kind of like that 1 year where every team in college basketball or college football who was ranked number 2 lost. Including Greg Schiano's Rutgers, USF, West Virginia, that one season where every second-ranked team lost. That is this year in college basketball. Tennessee became the 10th different AP number 2 school to lose this season, which is already the most different top 2 teams to lose in a season in AP poll history.
Oh, wow.
My goodness.
That's not just the second-ranked team, actually. There have been more top 2 teams lose this year than ever before. So the issues Tennessee is having are not happening in a vacuum. Tennessee fans are spiraling a little bit today, which we call that Thursday here in the Volunteer State, about this team. And it's the same way they lost to Kentucky. It's the same way that they've lost to Michigan and Oregon State. And they didn't make outside shots. They didn't make enough twos to win this game. They're not the only team having issues right now. It feels like this is going to be a chaotic March. And I feel like we say that every year. We have the data to back that up a little bit so far this season.
I agree with you. I mean, I hear from back home, Gonzaga, I mean, they're all over the map this year. And this is happening, like you said, Will, in almost every single conference. There is no real, teams that you're just like, oh yeah, that's gonna be the team,
the
right?
Dominant team.
And I don't really know if there's even a few. Like, I think it could just be a shuffle. Like, once you get into the tournament and you get hot, like that could be the team, because right now it's just too hard to see.
I think this is what we're seeing too, is the idea that the traditional blue bloods aren't the teams that are dominating right now. What you're seeing is a team who's built up their roster, suit players that are, been around for a little bit.
You got transfers now.
Whether it's the transfers, whether it's NIL signing guys that you don't usually get. There's been coaching changes at Duke. There's been different coaching changes at Nova. Like, you got to think about that side of it. Kansas still in the top 10, but you still say to yourself, other teams have had better players, and what you're seeing now is those other teams, non-traditional blue bloods, like a Tennessee, they do drop games. I mean, they're good enough to be that highly ranked, but when you had those Dukes, Kansas, North Carolina teams, Gonzagas be that good, well, they dominated from 1 to 5 as far as their players, and they didn't really drop like this. This, to me, is normal in the sense of what teams go through.
Teams that have a 10-0 run or better have an 81% chance of winning. Florida had 2 of them yesterday in that game. That was only the 4th and 5th times all season that Tennessee had allowed a double-digit and 0 run against them. Florida's 2 runs combined for a 28-0 spurt. So hard to beat anybody on the road, especially in this conference, when you give up just 2 droughts of about 5 or 6 minutes where you're not scoring and your opponent is. And I think it's easy to forget, guys, how hard it is to go to Exact Tech Arena, the artist formerly known as the O-Dome in Gainesville. Tennessee is 1-5 in its last 6 trips to Gainesville now. The lone win coming from Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield in 2019 when Tennessee was ranked number 3 that season. So Rick Barnes is 8-3 against Florida in his time at Tennessee, but I don't think there's too much to overreact to in this game. Florida's a decent team. They're 6-3 now in the SEC. Played a pretty challenging non-conference schedule at the beginning of their season. So, yes, Tennessee is going to need to raise its floor offensively because in a single elimination sport, you can't have nights like that so consistently like they have under Rick Barnes at times. It's interesting, guys, that if you had an NBA-style format for this Tennessee team, I think I would take Tennessee in a best-of-7 over anybody else in college basketball.
But it's just that they could have that night.
It's these 1 games out of every 10 or so offensively. They've got to have when they're bad on offense, it's got to be just below average.
Sure.
It can't be a disaster like this when you shoot 27% from the floor. I'm looking at Julian Phillips and Olivier Kamwa, those guys with more size and length to be able to boost them down low and just make tough twos instead of settling for so many outside shots like they did late last night.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, this doesn't put you out, though, Will, right? This doesn't make you think that this isn't a good Vols basketball team, though, does it?
You can't think that.
Well, no, of course not.
No.
All right, just make sure.
That's the whole point I'm making.
Okay,
right, but here's the thing. You've got to – I don't know what this is. Like, you're not going to play every game great, right? You're going to have some offensive lows.
Absolutely.
But you have to figure out once you get to – like, that's the thing, Will. You're exactly right. Once you get to the tournament, you can't have this. You've got to figure out a way to not allow these – and you don't want to get used to it. So the less you can do this in the regular season and have these droughts, the more beneficial it's going to be once you get into the postseason. You can't have that. And look, this is an SEC schedule it's loaded. I mean, and like you were saying, Florida, it's a good team. It's not a ranked team. It's a good team, though. They've got Auburn next.
And even
that's
looking at the AP poll, Auburn went down 10 slots,
sure,
from last week. But I don't think anybody is looking at Auburn and saying Auburn's a bad team when you play them. You know what you're up against. A hard coach, Bruce Pearl team that's going to give you everything that they need, everything you want in a matchup.
Well, from one Tennessee team and Tennessee players to another, we had the chance to catch up with Byron Young yesterday and wanted to detail a little bit of his week that he's had here at the Senior Bowl because we talked with Hendon Hooker and Darnell Wright. We hadn't discussed Byron quite as much. Kayla and I got the chance to catch up with him for just a couple of minutes coming off the practice field yesterday here in Mobile.
First of all, just what's the experience been like since getting here a couple days ago?
It was incredible. This is a dream come true. I always wanted to, come to the Senior Bowl, and now it's, coming true. But I'm just thankful for this opportunity.
It's been kind of fun too to have your guys here.
Oh yes, sir, definitely. Going against Darnell and stuff like that, and coaches came and see me yesterday, so it was great, man.
When you look at yesterday's practice and you get some feedback, what do you feel like you maybe improved upon today?
Just knowing the playbook better, and doing my assignments a lot better and faster. Because once you learn the playbook, you can move faster and not worry about making no errors.
What's the thing you kind of want to get out of this week?
Just improving my pass rush game and setting the edge better, in the run.
And doing that against some of the best, just how much can that kind of push you?
Oh, a lot. Just going against all guys across, college football is amazing. Different type of techniques. So just bettering myself and bettering them at the same time. We helping each other.
Josh Heupel was here earlier this week. What did he kind of say to you guys? I'm sure that kind of puts you guys at ease a little too to have your coach.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. 2 years ago, him recruiting me, and now, here at this stage and everything we talked about, me and him talked about this on the phone, when he was trying to get me at UCF, then he came to Tennessee. So, just the little things like that just reminded me how far I came and, the days I had to, go through just to get here. So it's amazing.
What teams you got good conversations with here so far?
A lot of them. They love my story and, just telling them I love telling it, didn't get to tell it that much, during the season, but now I got the opportunity to do it. So every team.
Where do you feel like you made the biggest improvement from year one to year two in Coach Banks' defense?
Well, definitely just, I said my technique, being more confident and comfortable with the plan and the coaches. So just everything around.
Who should we keep an eye on that Tennessee defense, make a big splash next season?
Amari Thomas, definitely, he was doing good this year. Tyler Barron, Roman Harris, but, just off the top of my head, them guys definitely going to improve a lot better this year.
Got any goals for the game Saturday?
Just do my assignment, man, and, come out with a dub, hopefully.
And there's Byron Young with us coming off the field yesterday. He does have an incredible story.
Yeah.
You got to share that because not everybody knows it.
So he was at Georgia Military College, and essentially Ramon was kind of out on the street a little bit during his career and was working at a Dollar General, literally, before coming to Tennessee and becoming one of those veteran kind of older heads on the Tennessee roster.
Yeah, and that says a lot about the player that you'll get when you bring in somebody like him, somebody that appreciates what's in front of him. He wasn't playing ball at the time, working at Dollar General, if I'm not mistaken, man.
Yep.
This is a hard-nosed kid, but very well polished, man. I enjoyed, having conversation with him and dapping him up yesterday because I was like, yeah, okay, you get it.
Yeah.
Just don't need a lot from a guy like him. Just the understanding, he gets it, and he's a guy.
Mm-hmm. And I was looking at this popped up on my timeline. PFF College had put him on there as one of the most 5 under-the-radar prospects in the 2023 NFL Draft. I mean, Tennessee people know him. Clearly, but when you talk about the big world of everything in football, maybe not as highly rated because, he does have a little bit of a story of how he got there.
Right.
Hasn't had as much time at Tennessee, but man, I was impressed by the short time that we got with him yesterday because we get 10 minutes overall on that field. But I thought he was very well composed, and just looking at that dude, my goodness, he's like a rock.
Yeah, he is.
Holy smokes.
He's a physical specimen for sure. He's going to be a headache to somebody.
Coming up next, our favorite players that we've seen in the practice field here at the Reese's Senior Bowl, plus our favorite fits for the Tennessee Titans. We'll dive into some of the highlights and some of the players who have made themselves some money this week here in Mobile. Your phone calls as well at 615-737-1045 as Hour 4 continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 1045 The Zone. Oh, yeah, Sappy Groundhog Day. Again, here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. That is how we felt to our alarm clocks this morning.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that alarm clock's only 6 a.m. It's like, bro, that's nothing compared to what we do.
Yeah, that's right.
What?
Oh, my God.
Should have seen us on the first day we were down here, where we were just trying to figure out how to get in the building and get set up.
We're in the building.
That's right.
Word. We had to figure out what entrance to go into and everything, man. But we made it happen, though. Kerr, make sure we got here early enough, which was a real pro tip.
Mm-hmm.
And
here we are 3 days later.
And again, on a related note, there is still no sign of Buck Rising with us this morning.
Well,
No, I don't see any
I'm starting
scenario
to
of that.
worry just a smidge.
He prefaced it by saying he know he was going to have a good time, okay?
He
so
did.
I expected a late arrival.
Okay.
So a lot of players who have flashed in a big way at the practices we've seen here in Mobile. Wanted to ask you guys a favorite player and a favorite fit for the Titans, because obviously those are two different things when you talk about the needs that this team has going into the offseason. But just as a whole, how impressed have you guys been with this crop of athletes? So what position group, other than offensive line, have you guys been impressed with?
The D-line also. I think they've had some really good players that's flashed, some one-on-ones, man, that have really jumped off the board to me. First and foremost, the Georgia Tech defensive end. What's his name? Keon White was really good for me. Watching him rush off the end. He was fast, flexible as ever, man. Played at Virginia Tech, so he played good ball in the ACC. They had him listed at 6'4", 280. Really good speed for that size. Another guy, Nesta J. Severa. D-tackle for the most part. Undersized guy, 6'1", 307, but was violent when it came down to the way he got after the quarterback and rushed. That was the focus point of my time here and watching some guys. And, of course, seeing Servassier, Dennis.
Yeah.
I was impressed by him. I like what I saw from him for the most part. On the field, too. So, big time get for anybody to get those guys.
I think it was hard because, you didn't have the greatest quarterbacks here, and I'm not trying to sit here and dog on them, but it is what it is.
It is.
Because the caliber of wide receivers actually impressed me more than I thought I would be, impressed by, because you knew you were getting the Tank Dell guy. You knew you were getting Jonathan Mingo, but there's been some other guys in there, that you're like, okay, well, these are some actual decent wide receivers. So I would say the wide receivers surprised me, but those tight ends, man.
Yep.
This might be the best tight ends class we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
And I think that if you need a tight end right now and you know where the game has gone, and those tight ends are used significantly, not just for blocking.
No.
Okay?
Absolutely not.
And I think if you need a tight end, come and get you one in this draft, because there are several that have stood out to me. I know there was the one from Oregon State that I was talking with you about yesterday. I'll have to. I'll look at the name. It's not coming to mind right now. But yeah, he stood out to me. Oh yeah, Luke Musgrave. And I think actually, who spoke about him?
Coach
Mack.
Coach Mack did. Sure did.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching the big guys. I think specifically the interior offensive linemen have impressed me quite a bit, and a lot of those guards. And we'll get into our best fits here in a minute, but wanted to start with just the favorite player that you watched through this process this week on the practice field on either side of the football.
Favorite player that I watched in general this week, it would have to be Will. Georgia's running back, I thought had a really big day yesterday.
Kenny McIntosh.
McIntosh.
I talked to him actually after.
Not one, but I think 2 breakaway touchdowns yesterday, man. So it was good seeing him. He had a good game in the playoffs that I remember also. But Kenny McIntosh, I felt like had a good day yesterday. And y'all know how the running back position can be devalued. So it was good to see him actually be able to exploit his strengths with his breakaway speed yesterday.
I'm going to go with the guy I've said his name a lot. And these are just, look, we looked at a lot of offensive linemen, and there was some impressive guys.
It was.
And I'll shout out again UT Chattanooga, McClendon Curtis, who also had a good day yesterday. So he followed up his first practice by another good practice yesterday. But then watching Tank Dell in person, I think was just like, I was so impressed because it's one thing to have speed, but it's the separation he was getting was incredible. I mean, those DBs weren't even close, and it was so hard for even the quarterbacks to even know what to do.
Yep.
Because this kid, he's so incredibly fast, and every time he would go down to get a ball, the crowd would be like, "Whoa!" Because he would just get off the line so quick. And I was just like, wow, I know he's small, and that's not going to work on every team, but that was really, really impressive.
So you took mine, so I'll go to my second favorite player. I'll go with Jonathan Mingo, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. I've been high on him because he is one of the fits that I see here for the Titans. So I've been watching him closely, and he just looks like a Titans wide receiver. He looks a little bit like A.J. Brown with the Ole Miss helmet, with the big, lower body strength that he has. There's not a lot of wasted movement there from him, and I feel like those outside routes that he has, it's hard for the defensive backs to really get a hand on him and push him off of his spot.
Yeah.
Whether that's in the blocking or trying to get downfield. Wanted to see him make a couple more catches deep down the field, but he had one beautiful catch in the end zone yesterday in one-on-ones and was consistently getting a step on the defensive back matched up against him in those one-on-ones. So my eyes kind of gravitated towards him just simply because he looks like a Tennessee Titan at that position. Feels like that guy would be a perfect plug-and-play option for the Titans on probably day 2, I would imagine.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm not sure, where the Titans are as far as drafting the day 1 guy down here. As we heard Coach Mack say, and we also heard, Jim Nagy say also, the cream of the crop down here this year is the EOL. So maybe they saw something from a guy too, because this is the thing too, as we get into the draft season discussion, 11 is still a very prime spot. And a lot got to happen in between now and then when it comes down to what are you picking at number 11 overall? Do you stay there and pick somebody? Do you trade away and fall back a little bit, too, to get more draft capital? And there are other teams that have a whole lot of needs, too. So it's not like that's out of discussion when it comes down to what you do at 11. You make a big fuss about, hey, it's a top 10 guy.
Right.
Like having that close to a top 10 pick, that's significant.
What you do like about it, though, is because of the amount of talent we're seeing. And we're not even seeing all of it here because a lot of them will, we're not talking about Paris Johnson. He's clearly not here.
Right.
He's going to be a first rounder. He's projected right now to possibly go to the Titans. But like you're saying, what if you do trade back a little and get even more? Or what if you just have some of these guys available? They're going to be available later on in the draft. And you've said it firsthand. You can't always find offensive linemen.
No, you can't.
But I feel like this year there's a little bit more than we're used to seeing where we can be like, okay, this guy could actually be a dude.
Right. And maybe that's something we'll have to do at some point, too. What is the Titans' biggest deficit going into this year as far as draft and offseason needs? You know what I'm saying? Like, we've talked a lot about, hey, you could have 4 new guys on the OL.
Right.
Whether there are guys that are in the building or not. But then you look at the linebacker position. What's going to happen with David Long? What's going to happen with Zach Cunningham? Tight end position, Austin Hooper. Like, secondary, do you start addressing more, getting more talent? So those are questions. And even the quarterback position still. I know Tannehill's the guy for this year we all expect, but there's a bunch of different holes that are open on this team.
Best fit for the Titans here in Mobile would be who?
As we go right back into it, Will, it would have to be I'm an advocate for the center position. If you get a center, it's like getting a quarterback. I think at some point in time, this Titans team is going to transition to a new quarterback. Get him a center that you know and trust and can grow old with him too. I know 11 is a very prime spot. If a guy is good enough, and I think John Michael Schmidt is a guy that's going to garner that type of attention, or if you go get a guard and he is, let's say if Osiris Torrance is there, do you go get him and say we're going to build big boys? Because let's not forget this either. The team that Rand Carthon comes from, they are heavy with O-line and D-line talent. We're not going to act like that's not a thing. And do you build from the inside out as far as the rest of this team structure goes? I'm going with the center first with John Michael Schmidt out of Minnesota. Had a really good week, strong guy. A lot of people think highly of him. Schmidt.
I have not heard one bad thing about him here. I was talking to some guys, thanks to Ramon for getting us on the field. They were saying he is absolutely a rock. Consistent, a rock. You can always count on that guy. That is what you need in center, so that's a great pick. You know what? I don't usually like to be a homer, but the more and more that I've seen from this kid, talked to this kid today with Dayon Henley, the linebacker out of Washington State, the more I'm like, wow, he would fit the Tennessee Titans. Like, that is a guy who has the football want, but he has all the things you want too in terms of a player. And you heard Coach Mack say, you can't always teach the coverage, and with him being a guy that is just, that's what he likes the most out of him, that's what stood out the most to Coach Mack. But a guy who's also very, very athletic, who played wide receiver, and I just feel like that would be a guy that could add something to this Titans defense, which, by the way, you just mentioned it. We don't really know what's going on at the linebacker position because we don't really know what's going to happen with David Long Jr. And really, that's a position you want to have depth at, because what did we see this year?
Guys go down with injuries.
Exactly.
So as a recruit in 2019, Osiris Torrance committed to Louisiana Lafayette at 6'5", 360 pounds. Had an offer to play at Georgia, stayed home where he's from Greensburg, Louisiana, and decided to stay in-state and play for the Ragin' Cajuns. Fast forward to later in his college career, he transfers to Florida with Billy Napier, has an 89.9 run blocking grade last season. That was the best among all guards in the country last year at the University of Florida. And he ends his career with 46 starts, not allowing a sack once in his entire college career.
That's crazy.
I think Osiris Torrance is exactly what the Titans need when you talk about a road grader in the interior of the offensive line who is as good as any other run blocker in the draft last season. And then you talk about 46 starts without allowing a single sack. That is exactly what the doctor ordered for this team, because it seems like the Titans often choose one or the other at the offensive line position, and they've gone without having the good run blockers who can also protect the quarterback. And yes, Nicholas Petit-Frere is young. Yes, he can still develop into a starting tackle in this league. You need somebody to step in and be a better pass blocker right away than he was last season. And you're going to have more help around him, and you're probably going to have better, maybe more experienced guys in the interior positions at center and left guard. Of course, Ben Jones' experience is not the issue, but you're getting more youth at that position. Can that be a good thing to help out that entire line to be better at blocking for Ryan Tannehill? Because at this point, Ryan Tannehill's most likely, barring a major change, going to be your quarterback. I think getting him as big of a line as you possibly can for the future and planning for the future, like Ramon said, for whoever's next at quarterback, I think is just so pivotal in this draft.
And you know what, too, this draft, we don't know who they're going to pick. I wish we did, so we go ahead and break that story wheel and be on the forefront of every publication. But I don't think this first-round pick this year is going to be sexy. I just don't. I don't know if the Titans are in that position to go get a wide receiver again in the first round, to go get a running back. I doubt that's the case. To go get a corner. I think it's going to be one of those very solid, you're going to be here for a while pillars that they have to go get in this year's draft, whether that's O-line, D-line, or maybe you do go find that lockdown corner, because we don't know what Caleb Farley's situation is too. And it's so many storylines around this team. I just think it's going to be a matter of what's best for us right now.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, because I kept seeing this on the Titans podcast, and Mike Keith was saying that he wasn't really convinced that there was going to be a guy here in round 2.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in like what exactly that means, considering, I mean, round 2, I know that like there's still a lot of talent, but I feel like there's a crop of it here. But are we saying these are more 3 through 4?
Maybe the guys that are,
like
those
they're
first
targeting
rounders
specific positions
won't be here, or the fact that other teams may end up picking them. I think you got a good core group here is what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I said, you heard Coach Mack say the best group he thought here was the O-line. And y'all know how that position goes. You can usually if a guy's a first rounder, he's probably not here. A high first rounder. Osiris is, I think, Osiris Torrance, but most of those prime guys are probably out. And I think it'll probably be a big run on other positions.
I'll tell you the one guy that NFL.com's Daniel Jeremiah has in the top 50 is North Dakota State's Cody Mock.
Yeah.
Who was actually playing a little bit at center yesterday, took some snaps there, played a little bit at left guard, played left tackle for the Bison out at North Dakota State. Yes, the Bison. They'll correct you if you call it anything else out there. I think his versatility will make a big difference for an NFL team. And it seems like, according to Daniel Jeremiah, that is the one prospect here of that O-line group that's ranked as a top 50 guy.
Wow.
That's a little interesting, not because we watched one day of practice with him specifically, and there were some things where we're like, okay, I guess we have the Dylan Radins thing still that is in our mind, fresh in our mind at North Dakota State. But I talked to him after practice, and a delightful guy, first and foremost, and actually talked a lot about Dylan Radins, and he checks in with him from time to time just to get some ideas, bounce ideas off of him. And I feel like, though, we have heard some positive stuff about him, so I feel like this is a guy that is
and Darnell
going
Wright
to be
is
right
in
up
there
there.
too, actually.
Yeah, of course. I wasn't trying to play
But you
homer.
specifically did see him on that first day.
I did. And the Mock kid, man, I thought, well, this is the thing, too. I discovered he played tackle mostly.
Yes.
He actually moved inside to guard, and there is a big transition from going to tackle to guard. I thought he was turning his butt too much into the gap when it came down to his blocking scheme, but that's one thing you learn at guard. Your steps are a little bit more lateral and up. As far as tackle goes, he can drop his left leg or right leg and block out. That's not the case on the inside. But this is what teams are going to love about him. Tough guy, strong guy. You know that off top. But he's played college tackle, but he also practiced at guard this week. And from what Jim Nagy told us, he also snapped the ball.
Yep.
So it's a matter of him making himself more valuable, showing his versatility, and the willingness to learn. That's what's going to attract himself to teams as far as his, him being a top 50 type of guy.
Yeah, among those Daniel Jeremiah had in the top 50 who are here in Mobile, Auburn edge rusher Derek Hall was in that group. You also had Osiris Torrance, who he had as a top 50 guy. Darnell Wright, he has at number 32.
Incredible.
On his top 50. Luke Musgrave, the Oregon State tight end. Steve Avila, the TCU interior offensive lineman. And then the guy we mentioned, Cody Mock, the former quarterback who plays left tackle for North Dakota State for the Bison.
That's an athletic
Not
dude.
Bison.
Wow.
Bison.
And no front teeth. He's missing his two front
S.
teeth. No, he's not a hockey player.
Yeah, he's not a hockey player. Spitting chiclets out.
Yeah. When he smiled when we were doing the interview, I'm like, okay then.
Yeah, it's great. That would be intimidating a little bit.
It would be.
Like
That
football
would be.
guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It happened in a basketball game, I heard.
Is that what?
Yeah.
And so he just never redid it.
I mean, sometimes it's better just to let the doctor do
Intimidation
it for
factor right there.
Should see the other guy. Coming up next, we wrap up the show, get you on the way with any headlines we missed on the way out, and Kayla can give us some observations from one conversation she had after practice with the quarterback we've discussed quite a bit from Fresno State. And one observation I've got on a former Vol on the way home of Eric Gray and something very different about him.
Yeah.
Coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster from myphdweightloss.com. I'm here to tell you, Buck and I have been down here at the Senior Bowl, and we both been looking at each other like, man, you look good. He's like, big fella. You look good. You're not Buck talk. Big fella. And I was just like, you know what, man? We're just working. We both are using myphdweightloss.com just to get right with ourselves. It's the overall feel. And, again, it's the wintertime right now. We're prepping ourselves for the summer, so it's not overly hot for us. You see people carrying around sweat towels, trying to wipe their face and foreheads and stuff. We're not into that this year because we're trying to lose those lbs and just be more healthy. On average, most male clients lose between 3 to 5 pounds a week. And I know what you're thinking, man, that's a lot of weight in a week. It says on average. Okay, so you might have a week of just 1 pound, but then the next week it may end up being 5 pounds. That's what we're talking about right there on average, and it plays out for you as long as you follow the script as planned. It's worked for me. It's worked for Buck. You can look at us and be walking billboards for My PhD Weight Loss from where we were to where we are right now. If this is something that interests you, go to myphdweightloss.com and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
One final segment live from Mobile on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Special thanks to our sponsors making this trip happen, Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric, as we give you a couple more minutes of our observations here at the University of South Alabama. Shout out to Brett Batchelor, by the way, too, and hooking us up with where to go while we've been down here.
Yeah, man.
Good recommendations.
And beautiful campus again. I can't reiterate that enough, emphasize that enough. That is
South Alabama.
South Alabama has a nice campus, man. Some old, some new. The stadium's phenomenal.
Yep.
I know I'm not going to school here, so the students
They got
might
the
feel
Greek
different
system
than I
going
do.
on.
Yeah, they got a frat row that's super dope. Really good environment here.
So, Kayla, you got the chance to catch up with the quarterback a lot of people are talking about down here, Jake Haener of Fresno State, guy that started his career at Washington as Jake Browning's backup, was beaten out by Jacob Eason for that job, transfers to play for Jeff Tedford, a guy he had known since he was 11 years old. Tedford steps down. Kalen DeBoer comes in, and he has such an incredible season last year. What did you take away from getting to chat with him?
First of all, what a tough guy, right? And does have a little bit of swag to him, but like Jim was saying, it's not overly confident. It's just like he knows he's a good player, and he's had to go through a lot. He's been through injuries in his career, but he has always been that player. If you can count on a guy to elevate his team, I saw it firsthand this year when they played Washington State in the bowl game. They waxed us, and you want to know why? It was because of that guy.
Yeah,
and that guy is a tough guy. I think if he gets on a team, I mean, I'm not saying he's a starter, but he can definitely battle. I think his stock is on the rise, but I got a great conversation with him, and he just had a lot of that confidence you could see.
You know what I'm starting to hear, too, from more and more people? Jim Nagy kind of said it a little bit, too. A lot of these coaches are starting, and scouts are starting to, reevaluate how they evaluate players and stuff. The idea, that they miss something on film. Nobody wants to miss a Brock Purdy upside. You know what I'm saying? Or a Tom Brady upside. You go back and you look at stuff and it's like, why is this guy so good? And then you say, we looked at everything but his film. I wonder how much of that will be reshaped moving forward in the evaluation of these players.
The one player that I noticed who just looks different is former Tennessee running back Eric Gray.
Holy smokes.
At Oklahoma.
Right?
The guy's lower body looks completely different. He just looked different compared to the other running backs. Eric Gray has probably put on 15, 20 pounds.
He's a muscle.
Since he left Tennessee of pure muscle.
Yes, he is.
And
he is.
I really think that guy can stick on an NFL roster and can be a pass catcher for somebody. He's so dynamic in the way that he just makes those plays outside the numbers, but his balance still reminds me of Alvin Kamara when he was at Tennessee. And if you hit that guy up top, there's a good chance he's still not going down. You've got to hit him low and take those legs out from under him in order to kind of chop him down. But was impressed by him. Looked pretty good in a lot of the blocking drills against the linebackers.
He was doing a lot of special teams, too.
A lot of the running backs really struggled in blocking. So I just think Eric Gray is a guy that I'm going to continue to have my eye on, and he just looks like a different player.
He does. I said it time and time again when I saw him, and I put eyes on him down here at the Senior Bowl. Reminds me of D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo Williams, the exact same type of guy, low, compacted type of runner. You can tell he got speed about him. Good in blocking. D. Will was good at blocking too. I was very impressed with what I got an opportunity to see, with him in these practice settings, because this is the thing. A guy can, the game is one thing because you naturally have that natural shot of adrenaline because of the game. Practicing, watching him do well in the blocking on backs on backers and his speed that he had moving down the field when he got the ball in his hand and his ability to catch. He put all of that on display this week.
Yeah, he was a great guy to talk to. I know you guys heard more from him because you're Tennessee guys, but that was my first time talking to him, obviously in person. I was really impressed by him and just, the journey from transferring out, going to Oklahoma, working on what he needed to work with. work on, and you look at his body now, he clearly has transformed himself, like Will has mentioned. But this is a guy also that was returning punts yesterday, so if you could utilize him wherever, like he's going to make the most of it, I feel like. But, man, that's an impressive dude.
Yep.
Well, if he shows up, the Buck Rising Show is next here on 104.5 The Zone.
If not, it's us.
We wrap up from Mobile. Really appreciate our sponsors, Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Two Rivers Ford, and Mitsubishi Electric, helping make this trip possible. Back at it again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. from the friendly confines of our 104.5 The Zone studios. And words of wisdom from Ramon Foster on your drive home.
You must remember that your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.